The Ravens, the O's, mix with the Terps. Yeah, Frank Scott, they gon' make it worse. The Ravens, the O's, mix with the Terps. Okay. Frank Scott, they gon' make it worse. It's Birdland BS. From Be More, you say less. Talk sports and they take guess. Yeah, it's Birdland BS. Legends like the Apex, hitting hard and they break necks. Yeah, it's Birdland BS. Birdland BS. Birdland BS. Okay, it's Birdland BS. Birdland BS. Birdland BS. Okay, yeah.
I love this kid, and I think he'd be a plug-and-play gap filler, and you have him for 5 years if you take him in the first, but he is absolutely, in my opinion, the guy that you trade back for. Yeah. If the Ravens do trade back in the draft, not trade back in, I'm talking about trade back in the draft with their first-round pick, I think Linderbaum is the target here, at least in my opinion.
Even if you want to move back up and maybe grab David Ajabo.
Well, take care of the line, man. You're about to pay a generational tier 1 mutant of a quarterback generational money. How about you do the right things and get the proper thing that's in front of him, aka Tyler Linderbaum.
So Kyle Hamilton is the best player in this draft.
Okay.
Don't overthink it. Kyle Hamilton is
I like him a lot for many reasons.
Overall prospect. Period. I don't care what people say about his 40 time. I don't care what people say. Oh, he's box safety. No. Kyle Hamilton, 1 OA. Period.
There's a guy at UConn, Travis Jones. You can literally get him maybe in the early or mid-second round. So it's all about how you play, like how the board's going to fall, like how we're going to do this draft. Because that's going to be one of the guys I'm going to try to go after. I would try.
You're 100% right. When I traded down, I loved that UConn guy. When you can put up those kind of numbers on a team that sucks and they can triple team you on every play, he's a bad man.
So is Hamilton just too good to pass up if somehow you can pull that off at 14?
So people want to talk about how the Ravens is best player available mentality, and they will always take the best player available, whether it fits the need or not, even though as of late they take best player available that fits the need, which I like to call BPA/N. Kyle Hamilton, if you fall 14, there better be less than 3 seconds off the clock before that card turns. Kyle Hamilton is not just free safety or a box safety. He's also a nickel backer. He is also a nickel corner. He's probably got 5 position versatility. So he ran a slow 40. Anyone that comes to me is like, oh, he ran a slow 40. Go watch the tape. Tell me where that slow 40 is. Please. He'll pull one game that shows me that Kyle Hamilton is running through molasses.
Here, Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa is on the board. He is, in my opinion, a can't-miss center prospect. He's played in the Big Ten for Iowa. Eric DeCosta compared him to Marshall Yanda.
Daniel Falele, the guy that, the Minnesota man, 6'9", 380 on a bad day, 370 on a good day. Super athlete. I call him a tier 1 mutant. What I mean by that is just the things when you watch him on film, it's just freakish. Like, ain't no guy that big supposed to be moving that fast. If you thought, like, to me, I know he might not run a 4.8 what Jordan Davis did, but we're talking about a larger human being, Brian, that when you watch him on tape, you go from holy shit, did he just really do that?
However it happens, like Linderbaum for a while has been my A1.
Couple of offensive tackles, one from Minnesota, which Minnesota was loaded on the offensive line. That's got me, looking at the second round for tackle.
And do we really need a safety? Absolutely, because if you really think about it, so I think we put Brandon Stevens in a position that he should have never been in, which is good. It's a trial and error thing, but I feel that when it comes to Brandon Stevens, I feel like he does better at the corner or nickel position more than anything. So it's one of those things where, like, literally, to be honest with you, I was just thinking about that we needed a corner. Yeah, we do need a corner, but we do have Brandon Stevens, which we're unsure of what we want to do with him in the first place. And for what I've seen, he likes having his eyes in the backfield and also playing man to man. So it's one of those things where, okay, I think I have a plan for this guy, But what are we going to have for plan for safety?
Like the kid from Minnesota is high on my radar. 14 is way too high in my opinion to get him. That would be a guy that I might be considering taking some of those 3rd and 4th round picks, packaging up my 2nd round pick to move back into the 1st round, kind of like the Ravens did with Lamar, picking it like 31, 32, somewhere around there. 1, to guarantee you the extra year of contract, control, and 2, you have the extra picks to do it. If you get Linderbaum here at 14 and you get that offensive tackle, you're really good on offensive line. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable.
Punter.
A punter in the 4th
There
round.
was a punter and a half at the combine. I can't remember his name.
It was Cincinnati.
Georgia.
I think.
Georgia.
Georgia. That's right.
Is he still there?
We're not going punter in the 4th round. I'm sorry. I will veto that.
Punter's not even an option to select.
Well, that's crap.
If I'm Eric DaCosta, my anxiety level for this draft has just dropped 50% because now I've locked up my entire offensive line, my entire starting offensive line, literally day 1, regardless of what happens with Ronnie Stanley. If Ronnie Stanley can't play, Filelli can step in at left tackle. Makari can play right tackle. We've got our starting center now. We've got Zeitler at right guard, and then we've got a plethora of people we can pick from.
You never know with
left
James
guard.
how far along he is in rehab. Just
Yeah.
they brought him in.
There is that too. I forgot about him. Juwan James as well. So, Garnett, you're not going to get a fight out of me, and I know your pick here is probably going to be Filelli as well, right?
All right.
Absolutely. 2 thumbs up.
I don't want any Michigan guys unless it's a Jabo.
Filele, you basically got a more athletic, OBJ 2.0 type of guy.
I was looking more of the safety from Notre Dame as our first pick, but we went a different route.
Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
What's up, BSers?
What's up, peeps?
Fred, Scott, and James in the house tonight. Does Ryan and Drew have the night off?
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, man, we got a good
back.
show. Apologize for not being here last week, but I needed a week off to handle some things, so I'm back. Looking forward to catching up on some stuff.
I would say he's back and he's got a lot of catching up to do because we had a lot talking last week.
We do. Hope you guys appreciated that new intro. Kudos to Ryan for putting in the time to put that together. It was a fun little spin on things, man. We kind of took some clips from our pre-draft selections and pre-draft predictions.
I know we're going to get into it, but that last clip was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you
pretty
say?
interesting on the flip-floppy there,
it's funny,
James.
It's funny, Ryan can't come to the show, but has plenty of time to fucking pull clips of shit.
That's more the government than it is Ryan.
I'm gonna take 2 weeks off and put my clips together.
Well, speaking of the draft, again, I want to say thank you to all of you who tuned in for our draft day special. Again, thank you to everybody who contributed, who donated to that. As I mentioned, I'm going to do 3 giveaways. I wanted to wait until I was back to be able to do this. So I apologize for waiting the extra week, but we're going to do 3. So we're going to start by doing 1 giveaway now. We'll do 1 after the Ravens segment. And we'll do 1 after the Orioles segment. The way that this works is based on every $5 donation, you got 8 entries into the actual drawing.
And every single dollar donation, you got a single
1
entry. So
you got a single entry. So the way we did this is based on how much you donated, we gave you a certain allotment of picks. And here is the list Scott will show you.
Yeah,
that
by
to
the
you.
way, David Missler is chiming in. Drew was apparently, he had it at 10 and 7. Like, he was trying to give away way more than you actually originally agreed to. I asked him if it was coming out of his pocket. He said no.
Yeah, Drew's going to have to come up with the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll
All
do
right.
3. So here's the list, right? So if your number falls in the range next to your name here, you will win one of the shirt giveaways. Again, it'll be a Ravens jersey of your choice. We can get you one of the rookies. We can get it your name, whatever you want it to be.
Or you get yourself a Birdland BS shirt. I'm just saying. You can support the cause.
So just to keep it fair, again, it was 9 donors that were on this list. We're going to try to spread the love a little bit. So if you do get selected, you won't get the chance to win multiple on this, so your name will be removed. But we want to make sure everybody gets a little bit of love. So again, we appreciate it and thank you for all the support through this.
So to throw it out there, so Brian Blake has 1 through 16, Ryan Harris 17 through 32, 33 through 40 goes to Vince Figueroa, who was awesome during that entire show, commenting like crazy, called in. Yeah, appreciate it. Alex, we know you always are out in the chat room. 41 to 192. Thank you for the $95 on that, man. Got you 152 chances. Joe Braun, not to outdo him, but he did 100.
The last second, literally right before we're about to sign off, the big dick on the table. Bam. Here comes Joe Braun.
So Joe Braun, 193 to 353. It's 160 of them. Joe Carlozo gets 354 to 458. Appreciate it, Joe, with the 65. David Mitzler, he was the guy that put it all on the table.
Yeah,
he
did.
just
Multiple
he spread
times.
out the love.
Yeah.
At $114 total, that gave him 188 chances, the highest chance of 22% here. He'll have 459 through 639, 640 to 800 for our good old boy AB.
Hey,
oh,
AB.
I mean Nick Short.
Yeah.
With his $100 donations. Again, guys, appreciate that. And then Emma and Lily, they made their donation as well. They reach into those piggy banks.
I didn't know that 4-year-olds could do a whole PayPal account.
They reached into their piggy banks and said it. So we're going to see what we can do for them. They're going to have 801 to 816.
All right, man. Let's flip this over here. We're going to do a random number generator and let's see where it falls.
So we got numbers 1 through 816. The first winner of the Birdland BS draft raffle is. Give me a drum roll, please.
419. So where do we fall? 419 is Joe Carlozo. Congratulations, Joe.
Good job, buddy. Good job, buddy.
Appreciate the donations as always. Again, 2 more giveaways to go. We're going to do one at the end of the Ravens segment and one at the Orioles. So Joe Carlozo, jersey of choice.
First winner. Can't win again.
Again,
but
thank you all very, very much for the donations. We really appreciate it.
But we also have, with not only that we did have the Ravens. We need to get your take on the Ravens draft overall this week. So we're going to be diving into that in a little bit because you didn't get the chance to be here last week when we really broke some of this down. You're going to be able to give us, you originally gave us an A as your overall grade, but we want you to maybe dive into that. Maybe you've changed your mind. Maybe you looked at things a little bit more. So we'll talk about that and really kind of dive into your thoughts on the draft.
Yeah, I mean, since then, obviously, rookie minicamp has transpired. We've seen some clips of what these guys look like in Ravens uniforms. We're going to talk a little bit about that. There have been some moves happening around the castle, specifically today, so we're going to talk about those corresponding moves and what that means for the team moving forward.
Yeah, and the Orioles have been making some moves of their own with the May cut to a 26-man roster, and some baby birds are making their debut while others rehab, and we continue to see this Orioles team have some flashes in the pan.
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
It's exciting, and
it is. Getting a chubby.
We could see some guys that we've been talking about in the next few weeks.
No, it went from chubby to full on.
We'll get into that later. Watch Fred get a full on.
So, hey, guys, the team over at MD Crash we've been telling you about for the last 2 years, they've expanded, more lawyers handling a much broader spectrum of cases now, still handling all your auto accidents and injuries at work, of course. But the team now at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon can help you with family law issues from divorce to custody to even child support. You can call now or text 667-220-6500 anytime for any of your needs. Save this number now. Update that old MD Crash number in your phone, 667-220-6500. Call or text anytime to get the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon on the case for you. All right, fellas. So, like you said, we got a lot to talk about with the Ravens. I am kind of foaming at the mouth at this point to talk about draft and prospects and the overhaul of this roster.
Well, before you do, let's get to what everybody's wanting to talk about, I'm sure, is some of the stuff that's been going on with the Ravens. News breaking today, really over the past 24 hours. Multiple little tidbits of news and some people speculating as well with news. So Give us the straightforward. What was the big news here in the past 24 hours?
Well, I don't know how big the news is, but the
Ravens
Ravens
big for some people.
The Ravens did add a running back, which is a little peculiar because I just didn't think peculiar couldn't spell the word, couldn't say it. I just didn't think running back was an area that they'd be looking to fill through free agency right now. So it kind of set some alarms off. I started to worry that maybe there's some issues going on with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins that we're not aware of. Maybe the progress hasn't gone as smoothly, or they don't think the timetable is looking as early as they expected it to be. But they do bring in Mike Davis, who's a big bruising running back. He's not really the type of running back that we have in the fold right now, so he does add a little bit of a different blend to the running back team. I do think that this is more so just a camp body move. It's just a depth move for now. It's more of an insurance policy, you would say. He wasn't very good last year with the Falcons, I'll say that. But the year prior in 2020 and 2019, he did do well with the Panthers. Again, it gives them a big body back that's good in pass protection, which helps them. So I'm not opposed to it. I just hope it doesn't hinder us in any kind of way of making other free agent additions. They did say it was a 1-year deal, so it's not a long-term commitment or of any kind. I don't know what the salary cap implications are on it yet. We'll talk about that when we get the actual numbers. But, again, you can't, in a run-heavy offense, which, like it or not, this Ravens team is reverting back to what they did in 2019, which was run, control the clock, control time of possession, keep the teams off the field as much as possible to eliminate as many opportunities as you can from them putting up points. And I think that's kind of it goes in the line of what they're doing. They're adding another piece that could contribute in the backfield.
Well, it's a depth piece. And the other side to this was the people that are basically saying now, and you kind of confirmed it right before the show, Tyson Williams being released off of the tender on the free agency tender. Yeah. So he is now off the unrestricted free agency. He can go to whoever he wants as a true free agent.
Yeah.
But the thing is I as we were kind of talking pre-show before this, I was scrolling through, and Bobby Trossett, I think, hit the nail on the head. And Mike Davis makes sense with this. I think it's a depth piece. I think Mike Davis is also a guy that you bring in as an insurance policy, not just for Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, but we know that they got Batty in the 7th round. So if you or sixth round. Yeah, 6th round. So they got him in the 6th round. So if for some reason he's not doesn't seem to be working out, you have another insurance. It also creates competition for him too, right? Now you have a veteran. So one of the things that we kind of heard before, and John Harbaugh has kind of said it, and again, credit to Bobby Trossett to dig this out, but take a listen to what he actually had to say about this. I'm actually going to put this on, I got to put it on Bluetooth here for a second. Let's see if it actually gets over there. I cannot hear it. Can you?
No.
You need to pass protect.
All right, here we go.
You need to run if you're a running back, you need to run hard. You need to break tackles. You need to get yards. You need to pass protect. You need to run the right route out of the backfield, catch the ball, get upfield. If you're in the rotation, special teams sure would help you. Get out there and go run down kicks. Get on the punt team. Get on the punt return team, because that's how you get on there when you're the 3rd back in that case. So I'm not talking about one player. It's anybody in that spot, or it's anybody in any position. You got to produce.
I'm not talking about that player, but I'm talking about that player.
Exactly.
100%. He was talking about Tyson Williams in that case.
Exactly. And that's, Bobby Trossett with that, bringing that out. We were sitting here kind of talking before show, and it's like, that is exactly what we've said from the get-go with every player with John Harbaugh. He just said it. It came out of his own mouth. You get yourself on special teams. That's how you make, as a 3rd running back, that's how you make it onto this team.
Right.
And honestly, I'm sure, we don't know the full details of the Mike Davis deal, but I'm sure if we do cut him, it's not probably going to be a heavy hit on the cap, right?
Yeah. I mean, this move wasn't surprising to me. I know some fans out there were big on Tyson Williams and didn't understand why he wasn't getting the opportunities. He did have some fumble issues early in the year last year when he did
wasn't
get some
physical.
Run.
Seemed to run too far to the outside sometimes.
Right. He showed glimmers of hope. He showed glimmers of being a potentially good back, and maybe he will catch on with somebody else and be a good change of pace back for somebody. But you had a lot of very similar backs on this roster the way it was, and Mike Davis is different, right? Again, he gives you a big body back that can plug the holes, that's good in pass protection, and that's something this team needs. Now, when you look at how it's currently constructed, you got Dobbins and Edwards, like we talked about, coming back from injury. You got Justice Hill, who's the big question mark whether he's going to come back. Where he benefits and where John Harbaugh is a Justice Hill fan is, to your point, special teams. All the things that he wasn't a fan of Tyson Williams is where Justice Hill contributes.
But Justice Hill has also had some struggles with fumble issues on that special team. So.
Right. So you got him. You got Nate McCrary, who was, back and forth between the practice squad. He actually had left. I think he went to Denver for a little while and then came back. I can't remember where
Denver
he went.
or Carolina both stick out in my head.
Yeah, something like that. Then he ended up coming back to the practice squad. And then you draft Tyler Batty, and again in the 6th round, you got an undrafted kid in Ricky Person. So they've got some options there, and they've got some depth. More than likely, they're only going to carry 3 backs to start the year. Could they carry 4?
The 4th is a utility man, period.
Maybe, but you got to think about how this roster is constructed, right? You're going to have 3 tight ends, and you're going to have Pat Ricard. So, you're talking about 4 players there that more than likely they're not going to carry 4 running backs as well. That's 8 roster spots between those 3 positions. I seriously doubt it. And, that brings up another question, right? This just all kind of leads into roster questions and stability and who's going to be here or not. If you're talking the Ravens keeping 3 tight ends, right? Well, the Ravens, I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but the Ravens draft 2 tight ends in this draft, not in the 6th round. They use 2 4th-round picks on these guys. Chances are they're going to make the team. Mark Andrews is going to make your team. Well, there's your 3 guys. That leaves Nick Boyle
as odd man out,
as a big question mark right now. And, Nick Boyle, the Ravens paid him very well to be a blocking tight end with the ability to pass catch here and there, but he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, right? Obviously, they're not going to carry 4 tight ends.
Nope.
They're not going to be able to hide one of these 4th-round draft picks who were very highly touted as tight ends in this draft.
Unless they don't show out well in preseason.
Maybe. And there's a lot of things that could happen in injuries and all that stuff. You don't know what's
your mouth.
I'm just saying, you don't know what's going to happen.
It's usually me that makes that statement. What the hell is it? This is going to be a crazy-ass year if he's making those statements. Jesus.
I'm just saying, you don't know what's going to happen. But as the roster's currently constructed, it does bring up some interesting questions. That's all I'm saying.
It does. I think, in my opinion, I don't know that Boyle's out, right? I think he's too valuable. You saw what he can do. We know what he can do. Now, is he fully back from the injury? Hopefully so. We saw some good things at the end of last year.
It's a pretty gruesome injury.
But at the same time, exactly, that's the problem, is he's coming back and you're hoping that he's going to come back to the fullest extent. Now, maybe one of those moves is they know a little bit more than they're leading on right now.
Right.
Which very well could be the case. We know how cryptic the Ravens are, especially with injuries.
Right.
Right? Which is why everybody was questioning, okay, you went out and you got a tackle. Ronnie Stanley, all right?
Right.
Like the guy that you paid all that money to be your left tackle? We'll see what happens. But ultimately, you got to kind of take a step back and say, I think that this could go one way or the other. I just think, I would imagine, and I could be wrong, I would imagine that these 2 tight ends could be a little more valuable to carry 4 tight ends
than 4 running backs. And I agree with that. That's ultimately what I think will happen, because Nick Boyle's, again, value is as a blocking tight end. None of these tight ends that they drafted are special. Their specialty isn't blocking. Their specialty is pass catching, right?
Yeah, good hands.
So I think Boyle would be the choice, again, if health is all, all things are good and health is good with all the running backs and with the tight ends. I think Boyle would be the 4th tight end that they carry, and they nix down to 3 running backs. That would be my early impression as of right now.
All right. So obviously we saw, we're talking about a lot of these draft guys, and we're going to get into your draft, assessment overall.
Yeah.
But so far, just looking at this draft class with the rookie minicamp, we see our first impressions. Anything that you didn't expect to see that stood out for you with seeing all this?
I don't know how much you can really garner from the rookie mini camp. I mean, yeah, it was cool to see him in Jersey. I think the one thing that stood out to me was how fast that some staple of numbers got replaced really quickly. I mean, you had 22, Jimmy Smith's number gone. You got 98, Brandon Williams, Big Baby's number gone. 5, Hollywood Brown's number, or well, Joe Flacco's number forever and always. But now that's gone, right? It was just kind of interesting how fast those numbers were replaced when, from a media standpoint and from a Ravens standpoint, you hadn't heard whether Jimmy Smith was officially retiring or whether Jimmy Smith was officially moving on to maybe another team. You haven't heard that announcement. You haven't heard anything about Brandon Williams signing a deal with anybody else. But to give these numbers away so early to rookies was kind of surprising.
Any number you were surprised not to see taken?
I can tell you a number that I wish wasn't taken. How about we go there?
Okay.
How about 80? God, why are you doing this guy likely dirty so early? Giving him Boykin's number. Yuck. Please, somebody take that 80 back from him. I don't want to put that guy, because you know, it's a visual thing, right? In Lamar's head, him and Boykin just did not have a chemistry. Every time he sees that 80, he's going to have that cringe. I can't do it. I don't trust it. It's going to be in the back of his mind, man. Get that number away from that kid. Give him something else.
I don't want to see that number anymore either for that reason.
But here's the thing, though. In all seriousness, with this draft class, man, I think this class really has a chance to be a significant resume builder for Eric DeCosta as a GM. This has a chance to be a difference maker, right? There's so much talent. We always talk about the Ravens drafting best player available, and they 100% went that mantra here. They didn't draft to need. I mean, yes, some of these picks worked out to need later on, but, to have a talent like Kyle Hamilton, who we were all high on, but Chibs, our special guest, shout out to Chibs, was super high on, said he was best player in the draft by his board, right?
Mel Kiper had him number 4.
Right. I just didn't have him falling to 14. I know there's some mocks out there that said he might fall to 14, but we had talked about it, the potential of him falling to 14, and would he be too good for the Ravens to pass up? And obviously he was. The Ravens went with their guy in Kyle Hamilton. It goes to show that, the Ravens stick to their plan, and they've always done that, and I'm on board with it.
Well, I mean, there's somebody that's not on board with it, but pre-draft, he was on board with it. If you weren't listening, there was a little clip of James actually saying, hey, if Kyle Hamilton's there, take the safety out of Notre Dame. Was there another safety you were talking about?
I'm going to need you to defend your stance here. What happened with the flippy-floppy here?
Nah, it was all about for him, and then a couple of my buddies sent me some videos to watch, and I, watched them and took it. I was like, okay, now I see some more film on him compared to what he was, and the games that he had great games were against the ACC, which I don't think anybody in there is good enough to match up. And then looking at the history of going back at defenders on Notre Dame being good players, they mostly put.
That's the Amber Alert going off. I was just trying to get rid of it.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, for that. But anyways.
What did I do?
What? You had your Bluetooth on. That's why I went through.
Oh, I didn't hear it. You're hearing it through the monitor. Just go ahead.
They can't hear it. You can.
Sorry. I heard it. I'm like, okay.
I'll take it off now.
My bad. I heard it, so I appreciate that. So, but yeah, like after watching film on him, it just. I hope I'm 100% wrong. I really do. But for him being from Notre Dame, I just don't think they put out good defensive players.
So that's your main concern, is that you just think because he's coming from Notre Dame that they don't tend to historically put out good defensive players.
Correct. And then because of their schedule, they make their own schedule. They don't get to play like Big Ten or whatever. They get to play the USCs and who they want, and talent's not there. But now they do play more of the ACC teams. But before they can make their own schedule and do what they want because they're Notre Dame, but they always fail. Just like they have never won the national champions. They're always up top and this and that, but they really don't put good product out there.
All right. I mean, I don't – listen, I obviously like players from more established programs, guys that play in the SEC, guys that play in the Big Ten, guys that have been up against more talented competition. I understand that thought process. But, to Chib's point, man, I went back and I watched the tape because I had seen some highlights of him, but didn't really know a whole lot about him. And I didn't really care because, honestly, like I said, I just never thought that he would make it to 14.
Yeah,
right?
you aren't looking at guys that are you're expecting to go in the top 10.
Right.
Or much less top 5.
And everything that you had heard about the kid was the main reason he was dropping was because of his 40 time at the combine, that his 40 time wasn't great.
Yeah.
And we all know how we all feel about the 40
40
time. Like, it's just the whole underwear Olympic thing is ridiculous. So I went back and watched tape, and there really isn't anything that this kid can't do. Are there things that he excels at and things that he's good at? Yes. But where I think he really helps this roster is his versatility, right? This is a kid that you can line up as a dime backer. You can line him up in the nickel. You can line him up in the free. You can line him up as a strong. You can line him up in the box. There's so many different things that you can do with him. And what really, for me, stands out on tape is his football IQ, his ability to read plays.
He watches quarterback's eyes.
100%. And that's where he might make up for that speed.
Well,
if he's lacking that straight line speed, well, he makes up for that
route
in anticipation and jumping routes.
Well,
Go ahead,
I just
James.
want to say, Dave, I never said anything about their offense.
No, he was saying,
I'm saying their defensive. You could name a lot of offensive player like the running back for the Steelers.
Najee Harris?
No.
Jerome Bettis?
Jerome Bettis. He's from Notre Dame. Joe Montana. They make a couple
to James's defense,
tight ends.
he
They make
Miles
great,
Boykin. I mean, come on, you got to throw him in there.
They make great offensive linemen. Like that, they're known for offense, but you can't tell me. Besides Justin Tuck, and he won a Super Bowl with the Giants, I get it. But defensively, like boom, that's a name that you're continually putting out there on defense compared to offense. But then everybody wants to talk about his play against Florida State, where he makes a spectacular highlight, and everybody shows that play. I could have made that fucking play. And what I'm saying is, when a quarterback rolls right, you know where the ball is going. Most of the time, he ain't going to throw it across the field. This ain't the NFL. So you know he's going to throw it that way. And he made the jump and made that spectacular play, which is his highlight.
But that's the one that you see on ESPN. That's the one that you hear all the time. But there are many other plays. There was somebody who put out like almost a 20-minute clip on YouTube of nothing but Kyle Hamilton clips and playing, again, all over the defense. His closing speed, his anticipation, being around the ball, that whole ball hawking guy that's going to potentially make turnovers is what this defense is sorely missing.
And the other thing, Sean brings up a good point here. He says, what's your opinion on Cam Chancellor then? He played at Virginia Tech, and I'm not worried about Kyle.
Exactly.
It's either you got it or you don't, and he's got it. And I think that's the point here is that there's
Absolutely
a raw,
right, Sean.
there is an absolute raw athleticism that everybody it seems to be in agreement on. For whatever reason, he fell. None of us in this room are going to claim to know the reason that Kyle Hamilton fell, but this was a guy that on many people that do this for a living, we do this for fun. There are people that do this for a living, and many of them had him as a top tier talent that was going to go at minimum in the top 10.
I don't take anything credibility from Mel Kiper. He's been saying a lot. He thought Patrick Mahomes was not going to be great. Like he has a lot of.
Listen,
you can go back and pull up videos.
Everybody's got their rights. Everybody's got their wrongs.
You can pull up videos of Mel Kiper being like me, saying, this guy's a top 5 player. You can't miss on this guy, and then he's out of the league or he's a bust. Like these people are just like me and you watching film, getting paid to watch film and make these.
Todd's calling you out and says Harrison Smith is a damn good safety that went to Notre Dame.
Mel said Lamar's a wide receiver. That's true too.
Yeah, this is true.
So listen, nobody's mock draft is perfect, but I think the consensus is that Kyle Hamilton was a top 10 pick, and yet again another value falls to the Ravens at 14, and again it was too good for them to pass.
And again, you weren't here when we talked about this last week, and if you didn't hear us last week when we talked about this, one of the things that came up as they interviewed EDC and Harbaugh after that first round was EDC said it was eerily similar to what happened when they got Marlon Humphrey and when they got Ronnie Stanley. Both guys fell to them. They did not expect him to be there.
Right.
And when they fell, the phone wasn't ringing. You're talking about 2 all-pros at their position.
Right.
EDC made the comparison to saying this situation, not necessarily to him, but the situation was eerily similar, and they didn't think this guy was going to be there. They think he's a top-tier talent. They looked at him. They think it's there. Again, there's a reason we're all sitting here and not in the actual draft room for the Ravens.
Exactly.
So, everybody's got to temper expectations a little bit. Here's the deal. I'll be the first to admit it, and I know you will too. Neither of us, gut instinct, were like happy about the OA thing. Even after we reflected, we were like, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I don't know about this.
There were other needs that I wanted at the time. Before OA. And
we kind of pounded our fists and like, I'll be damned. Game 1, he didn't have us going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Game 2, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Game 5, all right.
I was ready to eat my words after game 3.
We all ate crow. That's why we bought the damn crows.
Right.
We all ate crow on OA
100%.
because of that. So, look, it's one of those things. Kyle Hamilton, will see time. Only time will tell what's going to happen here. But this is a guy that really comes in, makes an immediate impact. They put the green dot on him in the rookie minicamp. Now, it's rookie minicamp, so don't read into that too much, but I think someone may have.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's got, I think, Ravens flock up in arms, right? Was after the Kyle Hamilton pick, I think a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute. We just spent all this money on Marcus Williams, bringing him in. He's supposed to be that ball-hawking free safety. We got Chuck Clark out there, who's kind of our field general, our leader out there, the green dot, right? Where does Kyle Hamilton kind of fit in? Like I said, if they're going to plan on going with all three, there's multiple ways you can use Kyle Hamilton because of his versatility. But it sounds like somebody's in his feelings a little bit out there in Chuck Clark land because he's deleted everything from Twitter that had anything to do with the Ravens. He put
Hollywood-esque.
He put a tweet out there. This could go one way or the other way. It could, whatever. Sounds like he's being a little emotional. Jason La Canfora, which take this with a grain of salt because it's Jason La Canfora, says that Clark wants out.
I listen to Jason La Canfora as much as James listens to Mel Kiper.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised with that, man, because Chuck Clark, was a guy who he's defeated the odds, right? A lot of teams passed up on him and didn't draft him, right? The Ravens took a chance, gave him the opportunity, and he's earned it, right? He's worked his ass off, and he's been a very good safety. So for him to kind of have this reaction after a draft pick is surprising to me, but Harbaugh has made it clear. If it's up to him, he'll have all three. But, we've seen the history of what the Ravens do. When a player wants out, they don't like to deal with that the toxicity of it.
Yeah.
They end up trading or they end up getting rid of him or finding value, more draft picks. So I wouldn't be surprised if
I'm really curious to see and to hear eventually what's going on, hopefully hear what went on behind the scenes with all this, because at the same time, we all said it, last year, really for the past 2 years. There's a difference in how the setup of this offense goes when Chuck Clark is on the field versus when he's not.
Right.
His football IQ is high. He has the ability to put guys in the right spots at the right time on a pretty regular basis when he's on the field. He's able to do well with that. He's a good communicator when he's on the field. Some of the issues in communication last year, he wasn't on the field. Just going to point that out, right? And that's one of those things. You can put the green dot on somebody else, and that's fine. But the value of a veteran that can help you, I really question it, because I don't know. It was something said from what Harbaugh was saying. He said there's going to be some situations where you're going to see Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, and Chuck Clark all on the field at the same time.
Absolutely.
So is it Chuck Clark getting in his feelings that he's being told, hey, Kyle's like showing up, man, like you're going to be competing a little bit for more snaps here, or we need you to step up and coach him, or whatever it may be. Maybe something like that's happening. It's all speculation. Anybody that thinks they know what's going on here, it's literally just speculation. But I'm going to be really curious to find out what has triggered this out of Chuck Clark, because Chuck Clark, up to this point, has seemed to be one of the most level-headed Ravens next to Tony Jefferson.
Right.
So to see him kind of act this way, it's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, and what's funny is like a lot of people got emotional and reacted to seeing the videos and the images of Kyle Hamilton prior to all the news about Chuck Clark having the green dot on in practices and minicamp.
It's rookie minicamp. camp.
It's mini camp. Somebody's got to wear the green dot. Also, they need to have a backup option. If Chuck Clark were to get hurt, they have to have somebody who's used to the communication, who knows
See how he
to
can handle it.
See how he handles it. Right. When we talk about Kyle Hamilton, there's a lot of things that you like about him, and one of the things is his football IQ, right? He's, again, an instinctual player. He's a very smart player. So it doesn't surprise me that he might be a secondary option to a Chuck Clark to wear that green dot.
By the way, in OTAs and in preseason, they float the green dot around to like 8 different players.
Right.
To figure out, okay, what are the combinations? Here's our primary guy. Here's our secondary guy. In case those two, these guys there's so much depth to that green dot. Stop reading the fuck into it. I sure as hell hope that's not part of this.
Yeah.
Because if it is, like, Chuck Clark, I love you, man, but like, don't get in your fucking feelings just because somebody's testing out the green dot. You should know better.
And that's to Drew's point. Leaders find a way to make it work. Go shove it down their throat. Then, if you're so good and so important, that's exactly my stance on it too. Is make them have to take you off the field. Go out there and show them that you are the Chuck Clark that you say you are, and make them have to take you off the field. I think this is an overreaction. Again, I think it's him being a little bit emotional, but we'll see, because again, the Ravens don't deal with these types of things for long, and there are some other needs that the Ravens have right now, and we know how Eric DeCosta is with trades. I mean, there's been some pretty one-sided trades that DeCosta's made in the past. So listen, Chuck Clark could
Eric Dealer Costa. Like, that's what I call him.
Chuck Clark could be a day one starter for a lot of teams in the NFL right now, that if he can flip that for a cornerback piece, if he can flip it for a wide receiver piece, all things that make sense under the cap, I would not be surprised if the Ravens do that.
I might have to get EDC to help me make a trade with Fred during our draft.
Fantasy football, man.
You got to bring in the expert.
Sorry with the devil there.
Well, look, we're talking about that secondary, right? And an interesting name that kind of got floated out yesterday that you brought up.
Yeah.
Cornerback James Bradbury of the Giants was released.
Yep.
They apparently were originally shopping him around. Nobody was biting. Any interest here?
Of course, the interest is there. The reason that he was released wasn't performance. The reason he was released because of cap situation. I mean, he was a $10 or $11 million savings by them releasing him. James Bradbury can play, and I would love to see him as a Raven. I just don't think the Ravens have the cap room to be able to sign him.
Doesn't make financial sense. Yeah.
There's plenty of other teams out there that are going to be able to sign him for more than what I think the Ravens are comfortable signing him for.
This isn't. Oh God, I started to think about it.
That's all right, no worries. Like I said,
this isn't a video game where you can have an unlimited cap space and you get it whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
Madden, thank you. There you go.
No, I get it, and that's the problem. Is Bradbury would be an excellent piece. I just think the Ravens are right now super tight against the cap. They still have, Justin Houston in the works of potentially being back. Depends on what happens with him between now and July deadline.
Yeah.
So there's money that's going to get eaten up by the cap if they bring Justin Houston back. And they've got a need at wide receiver, right? And I think right now the bigger need, at least in my opinion, would be outside linebacker and wide receiver. You can't have them all. You can't bring in all these pieces. As much as I'd love to have them, I just don't think it works.
Yeah, no, I think to your point, wide receiver is probably one of the most important right now because you just lost, what many consider to be your number one wide receiver, not necessarily your number one receiver. We all know right now that's freaking Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
He's your number one receiver as a whole.
Catcher of the football.
Yeah, exactly. But there's been a lot of chatter amongst Ravens flock, some speculation that the Ravens are interested in some certain guys. A few names have been floated out. Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, Will Fuller, Ty Hilton. Any of those like jumping out at you that wouldn't be that cap murder situation?
That's going to be the problem, right? And when you look at these players, obviously Jarvis Landry is the guy that's getting the most buzz. Played in the AFC North, very good wide receiver, still very productive, sure hands. But honestly, in my opinion, he's mostly a possession receiver, and that's mostly what this Ravens roster is already constructed of. So would he be an upgrade over some of the options that we have now? Yes. But the amount of money that you're going to spend and how much of an upgrade it is, I don't know if Landry's the right guy. What they lost in Hollywood is the burner, right? The guy that can take the top off the defense. Rashad Bateman has a little bit of that in him, but he's more of a well-rounded receiver. He could do it all, right? They need somebody, in my opinion, that can take the top off the defense, and they really don't have that. I think James Prochet and Tylan Wallace should both get run. I think both of them can work in this offense given the right opportunity, but they're more of the over-the-middle, the possession-type guys, which is kind of like a Jarvis Landry, right? The guy that I think would be the better option, you're going to crucify me for this, but I think it would be Will Fuller. And the reason I say that is because he does give you that electric, over-the-top, down-the-field option that the Ravens don't have right now. I know the red flag is as big as my head, right, because of all the injuries and everything that he's dealt with over his career, and that's why he's a free agent, and that's why, because it's not talent. The guy is super talented. He just can't stay on the football field. But if you bring in a guy for a year and you can strike gold and get 12 to 14 games out of this guy, he gives you something, in my opinion, that I think this offense is in need of and missing. And it's not going to cost you what a Landry is going to cost you.
Yeah, if I'm going with anybody, I think obviously it's going to come from experience.
I'm just talking about off this list. You're talking Landry, Julio Jones, Fuller, and T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton basically told the Ravens to go fuck themselves last year.
Right. So
that didn't happen. I don't want him here. I don't think he's a very good wide receiver at this point in his career anyway. Julio Jones, I love Julio Jones.
It's going to cost you too much.
It's going to cost you too much. And again, he's not at this point in his career, I don't know how much he's going to take the top off the defense. Another over the middle, big body, strong, Anquan Bolden, physical type receiver.
Yeah, but the argument to Fuller would be is if that's what you're looking out of a receiver, Fuller's not necessarily providing that with all the injuries that he's stacked up anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Did you not listen to me for the last 2 minutes going my rant? That's what I'm saying.
I was looking up, so I gotta point this out. Craig Zero, you keep bringing up that name, and if you're talking about the YouTube content creator, I don't know why you're even bringing up the name. Tom Grossi, which is a content creator that does stuff for the Packers. So if he's talking about him, have you ever heard of that name, Tom Grossi?
Never. Okay. I don't even know what you're talking about.
All right.
Well, either way, I listen, Will Fuller, I think, adds another dynamic to this wide receiver core that they need, right? I like Landry, and I think he would be an upgrade over what we have. I just don't know how much more of an upgrade it would be over what we already have. At some point, you wasted draft picks on James Prochet and Tylan Wallace. You got to give these guys run. You got to give these guys opportunities. You got to give them a shot. And I think both of them. And listen, without injuries in college, Tylan Wallace was a second-round pick last year, hands down. No problem. He would have been a second-round pick. The only reason he fell was because of some of the injuries that he had in college, right? I think Tylan Wallace needs that extra work.
He's got a higher
that
ceiling,
extra time. I think he's got a good ceiling with us. And again, he's under a rookie contract, right? Will Fuller adds that down the field, 9-route, over the top that we don't have right now, and that is the big thing. If we're missing anything by this Hollywood trade, that's what we're missing.
But no, that's so you weren't listening to what I said. I said I don't think Will Fuller can do that anymore after the injuries.
Oh no, he still can. He did it last year. It's the matter of just staying on the field. That's the problem. Right. I don't think he's hampered or slowed down any because of the injuries, if that's what you're saying. Yeah. I think he can still perform and do those things. It's just a matter of can he stay on the field.
And it sounds like a lot of people are agreeing, like the whole play Prochet thing. You've got to, at some point with him and Duvernay, you really have to get them out there and see.
And I'm not even mentioning Duvernay, and I should have been.
And that's the thing. You've got to get these two out there and see what they can really bring to the table and really provide you from an offensive standpoint. So, look, I get it. It's that shiny thing that's out there, right? It's that dangling in front.
Listen,
but Ravens fans see a shiny thing and they go, "Ooh,
that's how."
Can I have that one and that one and that one and that one and that one?
I love Ravens flock, but the minute somebody comes available, everybody starts going to bar.
Nobody wants to think. I've been in spaces where nobody wants. Every time I bring up, okay, who are you going to get rid of to get rid? We don't need to get rid of anybody. Okay, how are you going to pay a salary? We don't worry about no salary cap. Okay, what is this? Like, is this what the hell are we talking about here?
Right. And Eric DaCosta actually talked about that a little bit in his presser, or it was on one of the podcasts that he was on where somebody talked about him about like cap manipulation and all that stuff and how people pay over the cap and all that. that money comes back to you in the long run. Like, so these teams that spend over the cap, there are penalties and there are money that comes back. It's not like they're just nilly-willy getting over the cap and there's no real penalty for it.
You get taxed at 75%. Like there's a penalty of 75% for every amount that you go over. So if you go over the cap, sure, you can go over the cap by $100 million. It's going to cost you another $75 million. So it's costing you $175 to go over by $100. Doesn't make any sense.
With this list, I don't want any of these, especially like what Fred said with T.Y. Hilton. You had your chance.
Yeah, he basically told us to go fuck ourselves.
And you took less money to go back, and you didn't do shit last year, so you can go write it off and just go home. Will Fuller can't stay on the field, can't stay healthy, PEDs, problems and stuff. Julio Jones, not overpaying. He's too slow. He's like a statue out there. The only one would be Landry, and like you said, you're going to have to break the bank, and it's not worth it. This year, just use the guys that we have, see what they have. If not, then you go draft somebody next year.
Right. And like I said, I really believe, and Raven Flock, you got to get out there and you got to wrap your minds around this. The Ravens are going back to 2019 in the way that this offense was ran because for multiple reasons, right? 2019, they led the league in rushing by a severe amount, and they're getting both of their stud running backs back, hopefully from injury, right? They were the number one scoring offense in the league that year.
You hopefully have a little bit more stability on your offensive line this year, which provides more to the run and opens up the passing game.
Not only did they win the time of possession battle, they dominated time of possession. And that is the biggest defense you can have is winning time of possession. I know people just don't understand this concept, but the less opportunities a team has to score, the less points they're going to put on the board. The less time they have to be on the field, the less points are going to be on the board. So the Ravens are stacking their defense, building this defense. As long as everybody comes back healthy, they're going to be a formidable, very good defense. Building their running game back up between J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Lamar Jackson just so happened to win his MVP that year in 2019, right? And they won 14 games that year with a makeshift wide receiver core. Yeah. Very makeshift wide receiver core in 2019. It is going to be 2019.
And I think Sean just said it. The three tight end set is another thing you might see them definitely get back to. There's a reason they drafted 2 tight ends. There will be at least 3 tight ends out there. There will be formations with 3 tight end sets. Hell, there might even be formations with 3 tight end sets, a running back in the backfield, and Pat Ricard out there. It's possible that we could see that.
So Davis says, yeah, but that offense didn't never beat the Chiefs. Okay, I get that, and I understand your point that. But here's the thing. The Chiefs are not the same Chiefs this year that they were back then, right? They're a much different wide receiver core that they had. They don't have that burner in Tyreek Hill who killed us a couple of times. And it's not like we ever got blown out. We lost one bad game to the Chiefs, and it was at home at M&T Bank. Thank God no fans, including myself, was there to see that because of COVID. But outside of that, we were never dominated by the Chiefs. And I think a run-first offense, as long as you're scoring the ball at a high rate like they did that year, can beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, and defensively, Sean, I like what you're thinking. LJ Fort, bring him back, coming back off of injury. I mean, his salary when he was here last year didn't obviously play, but it was only $990,000.
So that was
a base salary.
LJ Fort. Remember I talked earlier.
LJ Fort, never said?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Remember I said earlier about the whole numbers thing with the rookies that surprised me? Mm-hmm. That was another thing, and that was telling. LJ Fort last year changed his number to 3.
That's right.
James Prochet just announced his new number is going to be 3, which is what it was in college. So to me, that means that maybe
what
the
was
Ravens,
LJ Fort before?
58, something like that. 50, I think it was 58.
57?
Something like that. 50, high 50s. But then he changed it to 3 this past season. Well, now James Prochet picked up 3, which was his college number. So I don't know if the Ravens are just like, fuck it, you're not under contract, so everybody that is under contract, we're going to give it away. It is what it is, but
Fred,
we'll see.
I just want to give you a heads up. Your son hit a home
53,
run.
thank you.
Cedric hit a home run?
Yes, he hit a home
My
run.
man. My man. He's doing good over the last few weeks.
All right, so obviously we went down. We're not going to go back down through the entire list of Ravens draft picks and the undrafted guys and the things that happen. There's 2 things I want to get from you. Number one is I want your, we got the reaction on air during the live draft. Mm-hmm. Now that you've had the chance to digest it, the news came out that he asked for the trade. He came to EDC, announced it right in the press conference. He announced it. This had been in the works. They kept it quiet. I want to get your take on the Hollywood Brown trade, what we got for him, your overall take on how it all transpired, and just your takeaways from that whole thing. Now that you've had time to digest.
There's a lot to it, right? The instant reaction was, whoa. Holy shit, I had no idea that Hollywood Brown was even like being shopped around, right? Then there was the emotion of, holy shit, they just traded Lamar Jackson's best friend. What the fuck? That's not good. But the more as reality set in and kind of just how about the Ravens go about things, right? I talked about it earlier. The Ravens, if somebody's not happy, they do whatever they can to appease the player, but also get the most value in return for it, right? Versus having a disgruntled player.
Eric DeCosta's the best at that.
And he's very good at it, right? Versus having a disgruntled player hanging around the locker room, somebody that doesn't want to be there. Nobody wants to deal with that. The player doesn't want to deal with it, and the team doesn't want to deal with it. Yeah, exactly. So for them to be able to trade him, he was a number 25 overall pick, Hollywood Brown. Trade him for a number 23 overall pick after getting 3 years of use out of him right before, he's going to go into his contract year next year. This was a smart move. He was not going to sign here long term, so he was going to walk for nothing. You were going to get nothing for Hollywood if you kept him around other than another year of a pissed off player that doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And then nothing long-term commitment-wise. So this was a great move by the Ravens. Shocking, caught me by surprise, but it's a great move. And then you flip that into taking Tyler Linderbaum, who I said was hands down the best center in this draft.
We thought we were taking him at 14.
Well, I said that if they were going to trade back,
that would be who it would be.
That would be the target. If they didn't pick at 14,
22-23, which is where they originally traded back for.
I said in that early 20s that if they traded back in the early 20s, Tyler Linderbaum was going to be the guy. Well, they took Kyle Hamilton at 14, moved back with the trade of Hollywood at 25, and got Tyler Linderbaum, who I'm ecstatic for. The center position has been an issue with snaps and consistency. Building a wall around Lamar is going to make Lamar the most successful. And if you listen to Eric DeCosta in his recent podcast with, I think it was Studio 44 with Marlon Humphrey, where he was talking about it, he said, listen, I talked to Lamar in many conversations, and I asked Lamar, what's the most important thing to you? Offensive line. It wasn't wide receiver. It wasn't weapons. It wasn't these pass-catching threats that everybody wants, all the sexy guys.
Give me the time and ability to make plays.
Build me a wall, right? And to solidify that center position at least for the next 5 years, because you've got this guy under a rookie contract in the first round. You've got control over him for 5 years. Yeah. He is going to be a Pro Bowl type player, maybe all-pro type player, hands down. As long as he stays healthy, he will be a Pro Bowl, maybe all-pro type guy. Lock that in for 5 years.
No brainer.
This was a no-brainer trade for Eric DeCosta, and kudos to him for getting it done and not being a wuss like some people are.
But here's the other thing. The other thing that impressed me, and we talked about this last week, the fact that they apparently had this in the works for weeks. For weeks. He was already down there.
That was probably one of the most impressive things.
He walked out on stage at the Cardinals draft party before the trade was even announced.
Exactly.
And it didn't leak out on Twitter. People weren't going crazy. Like the silence behind all of this.
Respect to Hollywood. Respect to Hollywood for doing it. Everybody involved. And I'm saying specifically to Hollywood because it's usually the player
who leaks some type of
not only leaks about it, just goes out on social media and makes a complete ass out of themselves. Hollywood, yes, he removed his stuff from social media, a la Kyler Murray, like his buddy down there in Arizona. But other than that, he didn't go public. And even, they had him on the podcast with the I Am Athlete.
Yep, that was good.
Right after it happened, they talked to him, and he was very candid about it. and said that the Ravens granted him, his wish and did everything, and he didn't have a problem with the Ravens organization, knew that this offense and this Ravens team was going to be successful without him. He wasn't a fit for him. The system wasn't a fit for him, which to me means I don't want to block. I don't want to run over the middle. I want to go deep and you throw me the ball. And that's what Kyler Murray can do. And that's what Kyler Murray and that offense did at Oklahoma. That's where he wants to be.
He said it without saying it. And so I think there was like a few people that were saying, I think Craig Zero said, you guys owe me a car washer. I think Chuck Summers said he'd wash Craig's car. But it was if they were saying that because he was saying that Giro was the reason that Marquise left. Mm-hmm. And to an extent, that's true. It was about the scheming. It was how he was being utilized. Well, who does that come down to? Who makes those decisions? For the most part, it's two people. It's your offensive coordinator and your quarterback. He showed nothing but love for the quarterback, and he didn't say a goddamn word about your offensive coordinator.
Listen, you hired
Writing's
me.
On the wall.
If I'm Greg Roman, and listen, I'm not I'm not going to pound the table for Greg Roman and say he's the best offensive coordinator in the league. You all know I have the greatest opinion of Greg Roman, but he is an NFL offensive coordinator. You hired him to bring his system in and to bring his scheming in, right? Hollywood Brown is a wide receiver. He's a guy who is either going to be a piece of my system or he's not. And if he's barking up the tree that we need to change this and we need to do this and you need to use me in this kind of way, see you later. This is my system. This is the way it's going to be ran. And if you don't want to be a part of that, go talk to Eric and see what Eric can do for you. And I think that's what happened. And kudos to DaCosta and the team for getting it done because, again, I think to trade him when you weren't going to get him for long-term and you weren't going to get him for anything, to get a first-round pick and turn that into Tyler Linderbaum, I'm happy.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense for sure. All right, so the overall draft, what the Ravens were able to provide, a little reminder, right? Round one, we all gave our grades. You gave a B+. I gave a B to B+. James over here gave a C+ because we didn't get Trevor Penning.
That's not true.
Yeah. Drew gave an A-. And then after we kind of went through and we said, all right, what are our grades last week? We said, what are our grades? So I said B+ overall. James said B. So he greatly upgraded because we got a punter in the fourth round. That was his big thing. Yeah. And then Drew gave an A. So what is your overall grade for this Ravens draft in EDC this year?
I'm right there with Drew. I think it's an A.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you've got 3 first-round talents with
your first 3 picks.
With your first 3 picks. David Ajabo is 100% would have been a top 15 pick in this draft without question, without the injury, right? We've seen players come back quickly. We saw one in the Super Bowl and Cam Akers come back from an Achilles injury like this, right? I'm not worried about David Ajabo coming back. Right now, the timetable is potentially coming back in October, which is a very similar timetable that Rashad Bateman had last year when he made his debut. So if we got a top 15 talent in the second round and all we got to do is wait 6 or 7 weeks into the year to get him and to pair him with Odafe,
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm fucking excited. I'm real excited. Go ahead, James.
I have to ask this because Scott already answered. Now, would you put your money up that Linderbaum is starter day one? I put $100 saying that he's not.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put $100 on that today. You hear me live on air.
Well, I did it last week.
$100. Tyler Linderbaum will start day one.
Day one of the season.
Day one of the season.
Okay. We're trying not to give him any outs over here.
No, there ain't no outs. I'm just saying, day one, first game of the year, he's our center.
He's our center.
Okay.
100%. But yeah, I mean, again, to get that kind of value, those 3 picks, right? To get a guy like Travis Jones, who Travis Jones was probably the 3rd-rated defensive tackle. Obviously we were all very high on the kid out of Georgia, the big athletic freak that we all wanted in Jordan Davis. It gutted me that he went 1 pick before us.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Hurt. It's okay. We got Kyle Hamilton out of it, right? Travis Jones was the 3rd-rated defensive tackle in most people's draft board. For him to keep falling, I wanted to take him in the second round. My brain had completely forgotten about David Ajabo for a second. My brain had completely forgotten about him. I wanted the Ravens to take Travis Jones in the second round. Then when they drafted Ajabo, I was like, fuck, well, yeah. I like it. Whatever. I'm on board.
You were
turnaround,
salivating in the third round.
And whatever. And then when he kept dropping and nobody was taking Jones, I'm like, there's no way. If he falls and the Ravens do not pick Jones here, I'm going to be livid. And they picked him, man. So, I mean, listen, top to bottom, did they get the wide receiver that I know a lot of people out there wanted? No, they didn't get the wide receiver. But again, this shows that I think that their direction is going back to 2019, where wide receiver wasn't the primary focus. Wide receiver is probably primary focus 4 or 5 on this team on the offense at this point. I think that what they did in this draft, they got some cornerback. They got the best cornerbacks and one of the best cornerbacks really on a very prestigious organization. You're talking about Alabama, right?
Yeah.
It was funny as you watch these picks happen. The word is out with all GMs that the Ravens tend to pick Alabama players. I don't know how many times in this draft, at least 2 or 3 times, somebody jumped right in front of us to take an Alabama player because they thought, well, it's the Ravens. They're going to go after their Alabama guys and take Alabama guys. Well, we get the corner and Jalen Armour-Davis, which a lot of people had him rated much higher than he went in this draft.
I got to ask, how much were you salivating over Daniel Falele?
Falele, again, another value, man. That was the mantra of this draft was value, value, value. I had said, and you probably heard it in the opening clip, Falele was another guy I was looking at in the second round, right? Or potentially trading back into the first late to get that extra 5th year for him because having an offensive
fifth
tackle
year on an offensive lineman, it takes me back to last year when we had that whole Greeny thing where he said, if you're thinking wide receiver or offensive lineman, you always take the offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. And I was so to get all these guys, man.
Yeah.
I'm like the only thing that threw up a flag to me in the middle of this draft
was the punter.
Was our Penn State guy, our punter. And I'll be honest with you, the instant reaction was, what the fuck? Here's the Ben Mason pick, the out of the blue. Why the fuck are we picking a punter right now in the middle of the 4th round? I didn't understand it. But that was only because I didn't know about him. I didn't understand. I didn't know anything about this kid.
Did you watch the video that Drew was referencing last week, or the interview?
I've watched the interviews. I've watched his highlight clips. He is a once-in-a-generation type punter. Like, he's not – the kid out of San Diego State has a ridiculous leg. He can kick the ball a mile, but his accuracy is off, and that's what separates this kid from all the other punters in the draft.
Pinpoint accuracy.
Pinpoint accuracy. And again, how long?
I want to see him with the guys from Dude Perfect.
Right. How long has Sam Cook been around?
Yeah.
He's the longest.
He's been around for a very long time at this point, right?
Yeah, he's the longest Raven.
We wasted a 4th round pick last year on Ben Mason. If we're using this pick to lock up our punter position for the next decade, I'm on board with it, and I'm good with it. You got the best punter in this draft, hands down.
You got the best punter in the past few drafts.
It wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't even on my radar. I know a lot of people were like, Sam Cook's days are numbered. He's not the punter that he once was. It would save us $2 million by cutting him in the cap thing, and I get that. But it just didn't resonate. I'm like, nah, Sam Cook's got at least another year or 2 left in him before the Ravens look to replace him. And if they do, it'll be an undrafted guy, some diamond in the rough that they'll find. But to get this guy in the 4th round and shore up your punter position for the next 10 years.
And that's one of the things I said was this situation was no Kare Vedvik.
Yeah.
Right? It was no Vedvik situation where you're getting a guy, which Vedvik.
Craig Zero, 100%. Falele is a better version of OBJ.
Vedvik was a good guy, right? He was a good pick. He did well when it came to the Ravens. And the Ravens are good at special teams.
Right.
But he went to a team that in Minnesota, not so good at special teams. Let's be real.
Right.
And failed.
Right.
For lack of a better term, especially
kudos to Eric DeCosta on that one, too.
Maybe EDC sent the guys out there on, was it Monument Street to beat them up or whatever it was when that happened.
Right.
But either way, overall, I think this is a different situation. I think you're right. I think it's one of those things that face value when it first happened, we all were kind of like, except for this guy was excited.
I'm letting it, he's chopping at the bit.
He's chopping at the bit over there. But everybody was kind of like, what? And then you start seeing this stuff, and if you put them side by side, this kid's got
a lot of similar traits.
And in some aspects, he could give Sam Cook in his prime a run for his money.
Field possession is crucial, and we all know John Harbaugh is a special teams guy. Go ahead, James.
Okay, for you guys that are homers that love Sam Cook, rumor mill is apparently there's a possibility Sam Cook might be on the team for this year.
I don't see how that's possible.
Well,
they will not carry 2 punters.
No, not carry 2
that
punters.
guy did
They can't put him on the practice squad.
No, he's not going to make
Explain this to me, James.
But also, it could be they love him so much, like how you guys all love him so much, that he might be part of the organization as well.
So an Anthony Levine kind of move where he goes into like a front office position but not a player.
Correct.
And I'm good with that. I love Sam Cook. I think
make him a special teams coach. Hell yeah.
Everybody does, and I'm all for it too, because I think Sam Cook can do a lot of good to this punter that we're bringing in that can make it better in the long run.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Jay. Great point, and it's a great leeway because how good is this player already, this punter? I don't even know his name. That's how fucking...
He was a soccer player.
What the fuck's his name?
Jordan Stout.
Jordan Stout, okay. How good is he already on his own? That if somehow Sam Cook is on board with this whole transitioning to a coaching role, and now his mentor is Sam Cook, like Sam Cook is bought into making this kid the best.
Solid.
Holy cow.
Pay Sam Cook whatever you were going to pay him as a player.
As a coach.
To coach.
But that's
Just do it.
allegedly speculation.
Either way.
It's high, too. And I can see it, too.
I got a chubby over here.
I can see it, too, because I didn't know this, but apparently Sam Cook is the longest Raven, tender since the league been around.
Right.
So
David Missler says Sam Cook could make a great special teams assistant. 100% agree, man.
Yeah,
I definitely could. But no, so again, overall, I'm very happy with this draft. It's obviously very early. We'll see what happens. You know what's funny, though, is the Ravens have a history of, for whatever reason, whenever they decide to take a tight end in the draft, they draft 2. It happens all the time.
And it's always one works out, the other one's
You can think back to it, right? It was Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon. Then you had Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle. Mm-hmm. Or no, I'm sorry, Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews, yeah.
And now you got these 2 kids. This is the 3rd year that they've drafted 2 tight ends in one draft.
And again,
I was
one always works out.
I saw Ryan's point. Ryan and I were at the spring game for the Terps, which if you didn't get a chance to go to the spring game for the Terps, then you didn't get a chance to partake in an amazing podcast. And it's a podcast that you'll just have to believe happened because we don't have audio
There's
of it.
There's video evidence, just
due to some technical difficulties. We had a great time at Maryland Spring Day, and they had a whole thing going on. It was Maryland Day on campus. You know, the baseball team, which is doing phenomenal, had their baseball game going on. There was all kinds of stuff.
Lacrosse.
Yeah, but anyway, it was during rounds 4 through 7, and I'm sitting there watching the game and watching my phone, and the Ravens had so many picks back to back in the 4th round. I'm like watching my phone, waiting for it. The first tight end comes up for the Ravens. I'm like, fuck, right? The entire time I'm hoping for Chig. You guys know that. I'm a big Chig Okonkwo fan, big Maryland fan, but big Chig Okonkwo fan. At first, tight end went off the board. I turned my phone over. I was disappointed. It was the first pick where I felt deflated. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, God damn it. It is what it is. So then 5 minutes later, I get over it, and I flip my phone back over, and I'm watching the picks come on. And then I see another tight end go across the board, and it's not Chig Okonkwo. I'm like, what the fuck? What are we doing, Eric DeCosta? And instantly, I turned into, I flipped the script on Eric. I was so mad at the point. I'm like, he hasn't gone yet. He's still on the board. How do we not take Chig? He'd be such a good fit. All these reasons, right? And then, because in my head, I'm like, if he doesn't end up with the Ravens, he's going to end up with the Patriots. He's going to end up with the Steelers, and I'm going to hate him, and I'm going to hate life. But then he ended up going to the Titans, which, I don't have a problem with the Titans. As much as we were rivals with them back in the day, I always respected those rivals. The whole Ray Lewis and Eddie George and the, Steve McNair and all that stuff. The Titans are a very good ran organization.
This is their second.
Not a Mike Vrabel fan, though. We'll say that. Not a Mike Vrabel.
This is their second Maryland tight end.
It is their second Maryland tight end. That's true. The one guy was part of the whole the miracle pass thing. Yeah, the forward pass that ended up going backwards or whatever.
Novacek.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad that you kind of were able to give your takes on the draft overall. So you're grading it an A. You think they really kind of nailed this draft. The adjustments and the things you think they could have done differently are minor. That's the way that I would take that. So I think we're all in a pretty close agreement. I think I would say there were a few situations that I would like to see, and one of them was Chig being on the board, and for me, just knowing and seeing him. And seeing that, he worked in a system that had struggles at points, but I think they were looking and saying he's a guy that's able to be physical and everything, but at the same time, they looked and they said, Charlie Kohler out of Iowa State, very similar. They went with him.
Yeah, don't take this as a knock on either one of these tight ends, because I think Kohler and I think Likely are both going to be good tight ends. Matter of fact, I really think Likely could end up being a wide receiver.
Because they make him make the transition.
Yeah, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, he's got the body build.
You mean a reverse Boykin?
Oh, and he's got the number.
I was wondering if you figured that out.
Makes me want to vomit. Yuck. Change your number.
Yeah.
I was a fan of you when I watched the highlights at Coastal Carolina. I was a fan of you until I saw your number choice. Yuck. Do your research. All right. Well, before we get into the selection for our second giveaway, social media shout out, James. Who's been out in the chat room? Who's been chatting it up? Any good comments?
Chatting out. Dave Minster's number one. One of the questions that someone asked, I want to ask you guys. Being that this was a deep Ravens draft class, do you think all 11 draftees make the team? And then also you gotta consider how we like to get undrafted players too. So I think it's going to be a tough year. But that was one of the questions that was asked in the beginning of the show. I couldn't scroll back up because everybody was typing in pretty fast, but want to get your take on that because this year is a weird year.
I honestly do think that they all make the roster this year. Typically, the guys that are on the back end of the draft, you always kind of question those 5th, 6th, 7th rounder guys. There's only one 5th, 6th, 7th rounder guy, and that's the running back, right?
Yeah.
And I think he brings something to this table. He's another guy that played in the SEC, was a very productive back, can catch the ball and run the ball. I like this kid.
Sproles.
Similar to a Sproles, yes. I think he makes the roster, and they're definitely not going to cut any 4th-round picks. And none of these guys, because of the value in which they took these guys and where they got these guys, none of them you can stash on the practice squad. None of them, because I'm telling you put them on the practice squad, they're going to be gone day one.
The only way that these guys make it or stash on the practice squad is if somehow they have a really bad showing, at which point I don't know why you would continue. I guess maybe you're stashing them as a developmental piece, but a lot of these guys, we talked about it with Chibs going into, up to 125, 130. These guys were starters, right? And so with these 4th-round guys that are, 130s, 139s, 140s, some of these guys that people were projecting going earlier. Some people were a little surprised that some of these guys fell, like a Likely.
Right.
Some people thought that Likely should have gone and would have gone a little higher. But the fact is, playing for Coastal Carolina, a little smaller school, so a little less competition. But you get him in the 4th round, good value. Maybe there's a little development, but you see something on raw footage that this guy's got some good athleticism, some good physicality, and some good hands. And I think that's where you look at it. To answer your question, I'm going to go a minimum of 10. There might be one guy.
So to that point, the one guy that I think might, and it's an extreme, would be Williams, the cornerback out of Houston. And the only reason I say that is we absolutely need cornerback depth. And I think if they don't sign anybody else, he makes it.
Yeah.
But if the Ravens, there's still some really good names out there on the free agent market as cornerbacks. To your point, what you just said a second ago, if he comes in and has a bad showing and the Ravens pick up somebody in free agency, he could be one that doesn't make the roster just because I wasn't a big fan out of him. He was out of Houston. I mean, he was good, but nothing on his tape stood out to me. That would be the only one that might.
I'm correct or not, but wasn't he the first one to sign?
No, it was Batty, the running
back. Yeah,
Batty
was the first one to sign.
Yeah, Batty was the first one to sign.
But no, I think for me, when I look at everything from this perspective, and I'm looking at all these guys, I think, like I said, I think I would agree with you. I think he would be probably the one, unless one of the tight ends has like a horrible showing. Because remember, you also have Oliver, right, as a tight end, and you're not going to be able to, with the way he was able to do it last year. I don't know that you could stash him either, right? So you got to think about that. So I do think that I agree with you. I think the one guy that's kind of the bubble guy for me right now is Demarion Williams. As far as your answer to the undrafted guys, we historically have always gone with 2 or 3.
You missed out, Ryan.
This might be the 1 year it's going to be on the bubble. We could see, I think, maybe a max of 1, unless you have a few of these guys have an amazing showing and you have a true competition in preseason. I don't know where you're making up some of the depth on this roster. Right. If you bring on some of these guys. So yeah, one guy, if any, this year as an undrafted guy, unless there's a bunch of showouts.
There are some intriguing names on the undrafted free agent list that we brought in for sure. We're going to talk a little bit about that next week and dive into some of those names and who might actually have a chance at making the roster. You know how the Ravens are. The Ravens always have at least one guy historically.
Right? What did we sign? 22?
It was either last year or the year before. There was always that. There was 1 year where they didn't sign anybody, but for years it was historically there was always one guy that always made the roster. And there's some big names. There was a ton of wide receivers, a lot of guys out there that that are fans of Alabama, the Slade Bolden guy. There's a lot of pieces out there that could fit this team. It all really just comes down to how do they perform in the preseason, injuries, and what do they decide on depth, right? Like how many pieces, like we talked about with the running back and the tight end position. How are they going to carry 4 tight ends and 3 running backs? 4 running backs and 3 tight ends? What are they going to do? Justice Hill, in my opinion, unless there's an injury, I think he's done. I think Batty, the drafting of Batty, and now the signing of Mike Davis, the writing is on the wall for Justice Hill is done in Baltimore.
And Tyson Williams, clearly so.
All right, guys, it's time for giveaway number 2.
Giveaway number 2. As a reminder, here are those that are out there. So we got Brian Ryan.
Joe Carlozo wasn't even here for the first pick. That sucks.
Alex, Joe Braun. Joe Carlozo wasn't here, but he is now out of the running. So if anything 354 through 458 comes up, we're going to respin it. So we got David Missler, Nick Short, Emma, and Lily. So let's go over to our random number generator. We're going to pick it again. Give us a drum roll again. And we have 170.
Winner is
Alex Devine.
Appreciate it, Alex. Woo! Hey, man, let us know. Send us a message. Try to do so either through Facebook Messenger or through Twitter or YouTube Messenger, not in the chat room in here, just because it gets to us and we can actually save it. Yeah. Let us know what size and what player you want on your Ravens jersey, man.
And then we'll also work with you to get your address to get it sent to you as well.
Yeah. So. Thank you very much for the donation. It means a lot to us. We got one more jersey to give away. We're going to do it after this talk.
And just to bring you up, I text Joe because I haven't seen him in the chat room, and he's at a carnival with his kids. But I wanted to know why you didn't answer his text.
Oh, he texted me. I'll have to.
Not now, but something that he texted you and you haven't responded. He's a little upset about.
Oh, so we got a Carlozo in his feelings too.
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently. I don't think we read through the rest of that list. I know we got to the question.
Give us the rest of that list. On read.
Yes. Well, Dave Minster was number 1. Thank you, Dave. We have Marquise Robinson, Nick Short, Chuck Summer, Abdi, Ryan Shamble in there. Couldn't come, but he's being busy at work. Listen to the podcast. Appreciate it, Ryan. Sean Carter, Matthew, Justin Marshall, Craig Zero, Dwayne Jones, Jacob Paul, Nikki Sherry was also in there, and Sherry.
Oh, really? Cool. Yep. Good to see you guys in the room.
Thomas Morgan, Rick Garrett, Todd, Mr.
Missler.
No, I'm talking about there was this new guy. I messed up.
Oh,
because, the thing, but he had like a YouTube name.
Todd, it was Todd.
Yeah, there. Todd, Mr. Handsome,
Rodney Minor.
I love it.
Welcome.
I love it.
Ahmed, and that's about it. So appreciate the comments were coming in. Still getting the love about the Hamilton pick. Trevor will be a Raven in 4 years, I guess. So we have to wait that long.
So, Thomas, I saw your question out there. We did a draft day special, and we were doing raffles. Everybody that donated $5, you got 8 entries into this raffle. People ask us all the time. We don't ask for donations, but people ask how they can donate and how they can support the show. If you go to our bio link on Twitter, it's bio.link /BirdlandBS. There are some donations there. Listen, every
in the
time,
bottom right corner of the screen.
Every time we get donations, I always do everything I can to give that money right back to you guys or put it into the show. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for your support. Thank you again very much.
Yeah.
Time for some bros, bows, and O's.
It's that time.
It is, man.
Before we do that, we don't have a liquor sponsor anymore, so we are looking if anybody knows any liquor stores or any beer sponsors or whatever.
Liquor Stop had some changes in management there, so
we parted ways at this point. But
is what it is.
But James hooked us up with this Founders Brewing Company. It's called KBS. It's the original.
This shit is good.
It's a 12%. It's barrel aged. It's an imperial stout that is aged in bourbon barrels. This shit, it's good. It's 12%. It's heavy, so I'm sipping it. You've pounded that thing.
Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I've
so
mine too.
if you've had the Hershey's Yingling,
yeah,
it has kind of that chocolate undertone to it, like the Hershey's Yingling does. It's a little thicker. To Scott's point, it's a stout, right? So it's more of like the Yingling or the Guinness type of.
It's thick,
filling,
not that
right?
thick, but
it's not quite that thick, but it's almost there. Which usually I don't like Guinness. I am not a Guinness fan, but I'm not really much of a stout fan. But this stuff is good, and at 12%, I mean, you can see I'm like fucking burping and hiccuping and all kinds of shit right now off of one. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
The other thing that we've been drinking on is something that I picked this up.
Tastes like candy.
It's delicious.
This is scary. What's the alcohol content on this?
5.
Okay.
You could pound a bunch of these.
All right.
But
Sweet.
so this stuff it's from Untitled Art. You've probably seen a bunch of these cans around. I don't know if we could, let's see if we can do this. So that's kind of what it looks like. This one's got pineapples, and we'll maybe post a picture or something later on. But with this one, this is their pineapple mango hard seltzer. It's Florida Seltzer Company. It's Untitled Art, but it's only it's gluten free, 6 grams of sugar, 7 grams of carbs, contains natural flavors, and again, it's only 5% ABV. But it is smooth.
That's good for my diabetes that I've self-diagnosed myself of having diabetes.
And Scott,
I got to beat the beatus.
Scott, why don't you just show what you introduced to Fred tonight?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
I
Fred,
feel like
how old are you first?
I am 40.
Okay. Fred's 40 years
Thank you
old.
for the reminder,
and if
Scott.
anybody out there is Fred's age and you haven't, then you fall in the same damn category, okay? If you've never had, it's clear bottle right now because of the color of it. If you've never had limoncello, I got to give this to you, James, so people can see this stuff. But Fred was introduced tonight pre-show to limoncello.
I've heard of it. I've just, I always associated limoncello with like a dessert. I don't know why.
Oh,
but
you can absolutely have it with dessert.
I'm saying I thought it was a dessert, like not a drink. I thought it was a
this
dessert.
is not lemon meringue pie.
That's how little I knew
make
about
a
limoncello.
A cake.
Yeah, you can make a limoncello cake. But
Sounds delicious
So
after I've
Fred
had
has
it.
never had limoncello. If you haven't, it's basically like a harder liquor, like a vodka or I've seen people make it with Everclear.
It's delicious.
This stuff is delicious. It's actually they take it and
I'm sad it took me 40 years.
They steep fresh lemon peels to make this stuff, and when you make it natural, it's so delicious. There's actually, we were telling Fred, there's a
Brewed
local
with the tears of angels.
Yeah, it's that good.
Dave, I had that, and Fred hasn't. Okay.
David, listen, and I've been around the block and through every aisle in the liquor store and had pretty much everything in my day. That is one thing I have never had is limoncello.
Somebody said lemon jello.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably why I thought it was dessert.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so fat I thought it was jello.
There you go. But no, this stuff, if you've never had it, it's delicious. Again, brewed with fresh lemon peels, and so you can make your own. But even the pre-made stuff, as you taste it, it's
delicious.
Fucking delicious.
Delicious. I would have had
Smooth
no
as shit.
idea it was vodka. Get out there and try it. I mean, don't have to tell anybody you need to save 10%, but you can get out there and try it. Go wherever you want.
Find a place.
You're not held to go to liquor stop. You're not held to go to Conowingo Road. Go wherever the fuck you want.
Yeah. We drink what we want now. But no, all right, so let's get into Bros, Bows, and O's now. Now that we know what's fueling tonight. So the O's are 12 and 17 overall. They've won 4 of their last 5. 6 of the last 9, and went 3-1-1 over the last 5 series.
Woo!
I didn't think I'd be saying that.
Birdland is rocking right now. I mean, listen. I had the bar was very low.
We are.
Yeah.
The youth of the nation. Boom! That's what this is. This team is youth.
Right. The bar was very low for me this year. I had very low expectations. I mean, we didn't even know who the starting rotation was going to be with this team.
We're not in the cellar right now.
Yeah, we're not. You know who is?
Boston
Somebody with
is.
a much bigger payroll than what we have. Pretty sure they have a half a dozen players who are making more money than our entire fucking roster.
You were talking about this before.
Yeah.
Like, just the team.
Yeah, it's crazy right now. Overall, they're batting .294, 341, 462 this month. The best batting average, slugging percentage, and OPS, and second best on base percentage in the AL in May. So it's not like it's just a short-term thing. It's not something they've done over the last week. They've been putting this together over the last month, and it's been surprising. Yeah. But I think, for me, beyond hitting, and I'll let you talk about the hitting, but I think the biggest surprise for me has been how this pitching staff is held together from a rotation and a bullpen standpoint. I mean, they are...
I did have to say I had a little heart palpitation today.
Oh, yeah, you and me both.
Because they said that the first initial tweet was that Jorge Lopez would not be making the trip with the team. And I went, shit, he got injured. Fuck. And then it was his grandfather passed away. So, condolences to the Lopez family and to Jorge. You will be greatly missed. Hopefully, we don't need any save situations while you're gone. The team can handle it, and that they can put all runs on the board and not have to worry about that. But yeah, no, 100%.
Well,
this rotation has looked good, and so has the.
But before we get into pitching, though, because to your credit, right, we've talked about one of the struggles that this team had early on in the year was hitting with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
Well, they've turned that around.
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, this team, when you look over the past week or two, they're really making strides at the plate with runners in scoring position. I saw a number that the past like 4 or 5 games, runners in scoring position, they're hitting almost close to 400 at this point with runners in scoring position.
Great.
Which is great to see, great to hear. And you've got guys that are really, again, making strides at the plate. And one guy that stands out, how great is it to see Santander being so patient at the plate? Yeah. He leads the team in walks right now. He is 4th in MLB and 1st in the American League in walks. That's patience, people.
Yeah, I mean, that was always something that was a little bit a question mark of his game.
He swung at the high fastball all the time.
All the time. He's still not hitting for a very high average right now, but to your point, he's being very patient at the plate, being very selective at the plate. But a lot of these guys, especially early on, man, have been hitting the ball hard. Have been lacing the ball. Mancini's a guy who's been a victim of it multiple times this year, just hitting the ball right at people.
To go back to the runners in scoring position thing for him, right? He's 6th on the team in hits with 21. But the other thing here is he's 2nd on the team in RBIs with 12. Yep. So you talk about a guy that's able to he's being patient at the plate. He's making the most of his at-bats. He's got a few more strikeouts. I think he's got like 18, 19, 20 strikeouts. So it's a little high, but there's guys that are a lot higher. So, Jorge Mateo, I think, has like 30-some strikeouts. So there's question marks there. But overall, Santander is a guy that is being patient at the plate, looking better. So is he going to get dealt before the All-Star game?
Honestly, Santander, if he can build his value up to get traded.
By the way, Wyatt would correct you. It's Santander.
If he can build his value up to be a trade piece again, like he was. I mean, there was rumors that the Marlins were interested in him last year or the year before. I think that he is an expendable piece. And the reason I say that is because outfield is a position that we actually have some depth in the minors at, that if Santander can return some value in pitching or younger prospects that can come up, I'm open to listening to that. Same thing with Trey Mancini. As much as he's like, the feel-good story, he's the locker room guy, everything that he went through with cancer and all that stuff, you hate to see that guy go, but you got to think endgame. You got to think long-term. And if Mancini can bring back some prospects that could contribute in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm listening.
All right.
That's just my opinion.
Well, another guy that brings question marks right now as far as, what he's been bringing to the table, it's Ryan Mountcastle.
What question marks do you have?
Is he going to be here? He's hitting .275 so far, but leads the team with 4 home runs, 16 RBIs.
He hadn't even gotten started this year.
He's got 28 Ks. Mateo has 30 and this was as of yesterday. So yesterday morning before the Kansas City game. But you know, he's a guy. He's got the power. We've seen it. Mm-hmm. We've seen, you know, we saw the one hit off the top of the wall. We saw he's had multiple home run games now. He's starting to really pick up. I mean, is he a piece you're willing to part with or
nope.
no?
Hell no.
I'm making sure some people are saying, "Oh, get rid of him."
Mountcastle was one of the first pieces to come up that is part of the future. Mountcastle isn't going anywhere.
I got to ask. This isn't in our outline, but we heard said he hit a home run. Said he's really been coming on here as of late.
Nope, he ain't going anywhere.
Okay, you're not willing to trade him.
He's another staple. I think when we talk about veteran leadership, right, and somebody who can be a table setter, Cedric Mullins stands out to me more than anybody else in this organization because, you know me, I love a traditional leadoff hitter. We went through those couple of weird, awkward years where we didn't have a actual leadoff hitter, and we had Markakis in
as
there.
As many home runs as he's hitting right now, I don't know if you can call him a traditional leadoff hitter.
Because he works the count. He's a good contact guy. He's starting to hit now. I know he struggled early on. I think he was pressing a little bit early on. Yes, he's got the added power. For a smaller guy,
he hits a lot with a lot of power.
Yeah. Right. You know, a 30 for 30 guy, right?
Yeah.
That was great. But I really think this transition to him committing to being a left-handed hitter in this ballpark, the way it's constructed right now, he is going to be a very dominant offensive and defensive leadoff hitter for this team for a long time.
Yeah, and I hope he is. One guy that I think is a bubble guy, and I'm curious to get your take, is at 26 years old and really coming into his own over last year and this year so far, Austin Hayes. You look at what he's done. This guy, we drafted him in 2016.
He is on fire right now.
Yes, we drafted him in 2016.
Like bonfire.
He was drafted in the 3rd round, 91st overall pick, in 104 at-bats. This wasn't including the Monday game against Kansas City. So this was Monday morning that I pulled these stats. He's hitting .327, which is 6th in the AL. He's got 9 doubles, which leads the team, and he's tied for 8th in MLB. He's got, I think he's 6th in the AL in that. He's got 3 home runs, 12 walks, 20 Ks. He is hitting .327, and just the other day, Sunday, he went in a doubleheader. I want to say in the 2 games, he went 7 for 8.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Austin Hayes is on next level fire right now.
Offensively and defensively.
I'm going to sum up some better numbers for you, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Since April 15th, right? About a month ago, so almost for a month, he's tied for 1st in the MLB in hits with 32, 2nd in MLB in average with 386, 4th at 1.037 OPS, 4th in total bases at 49, 4th in OBP at 447, 5th in doubles at 8, and 7th in slugging percentage at 590. In the MLB, not the AL, in the MLB.
He hit like 475 in the last 11 games or something like that?
It's something ridiculous. I love Austin Hayes. The issue has been with Austin Hayes, very much like Will Fuller, we talked about it. Can he stay on the field? Can he stay healthy? He's been injured. He's had a lot of little nagging things that just year in and year out tend to keep him off the field, right? That's my only gripe with Austin Hayes. I love his grit. I love his attitude. The players, the locker room love him. He is a guy that I would love.
He's a fire guy.
He's a guy I would love to play with. He's a guy I would love to have as a teammate, and I feel like his teammates feel the same way about him. Really, the only question I have for him is, can he stay on the field? But you have a Mullins and a Hayes, guys that you can bat 1-2, guys that you can bat 1-9. You can flip flop them 9-1,
1-3.
You can go any which way with those guys, depending upon who's got the hot bat. I like it. And you're always going to have 4 outfielders, right? And if Austin Hayes long-term isn't an everyday player, if he's that rotational guy, he can play all 3 positions.
So let me throw this out to you. If you deal Trey Mancini, Mountcastle moves.
God, please stop the project of Trey Mancini in the outfield. He looks terrible.
Yeah, he does.
Just stop.
He needs to stop.
Just stop.
But if you do that, it's to get Mountcastle at first as a solid.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a problem sliding him into DH and bringing up 1 or 2 guys in the outfield?
When that time comes, and depending upon who those guys are, the Kyle Stallers of the world, the I can't think of his name right now. The kid that was
Nevin.
No,
Or McKenna?
No, the kid that was in the Machado trade that keeps.
Oh,
getting
Diaz.
injured.
Yusniel Diaz.
Right, Diaz. There's some other pieces. Obviously, Colton Cowser is going to be here at some point, right? You got other pieces in the outfield that are going to come up. You got Kerstad if he can stay healthy.
TJ
right?
Stewart.
No. No. If he never dons an Orioles uniform again, I'll be the
Can
happiest
he
man.
never don an Orioles uniform again, please?
So
Why is he
bad.
still down in fucking Norfolk?
He's so
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the point, is that Austin Hayes, you can use him for many different things. And when his bat is this kind of hot, this shows the kind of potential that he has offensively.
So you kind of mentioned Hayes and some of the guys. Is there any what guys are getting you excited? You know, we talked about the running and scoring position piece.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a few of those guys are probably get you excited. But who overall, when you look at this roster, who's got you excited the most right now on the Major League roster?
I was going to say, if you're talking about the Major League roster right now, beyond Austin Hayes, beyond, the Cedric Mullins of the world, one piece I think that goes flying under the radar that not enough people talk about is Jorge Mateo. And I love this guy from a versatility standpoint and what he brings on the bases.
God, he's fast.
He is, there's fast. There's fast.
And there's blazing fast.
And then there's Billy Hamilton kind of fast, right? Jorge Mateo is Billy Hamilton kind of fast on the base paths, right? And he is a difference maker, a guy that can go first to third and no questions, a guy that can go first to home. He is a difference maker. And
he's Willie Mays Hayes fast.
He is a guy that you can use in situations off the bench when you need that,
pinch runner.
You need that pinch runner. You're down one.
You're down one and you got a man on first.
Yeah.
Pinch run.
Pinch run. Jorge Mateo, right? I like him as a person. I like his character, the way he presents himself on the field, the locker room standpoint. I think he adds an element to this team that I don't think enough fans appreciate.
Look, I 100% agree with you. My biggest gripe with him is the strikeouts. He needs to become, you lead the team in strikeouts and you're not a home run hitter. You're a contact hitter. He's got a lot of doubles, good triples. He can get around the bases. I get that. But at the same time, you need to be, if you're a hitter like that, if he were more disciplined to the plate, I'd say he could be the more rounded, natural leadoff hitter than said he is.
Could be.
Because he's more of a contact guy.
He's got a long way to go with that.
He does.
He's got to be a better contact hitter.
But he's got the other intangibles to that.
Yeah. No,
that's what I'm saying. Like there's that part of it. So yeah. So all right. So you mentioned,
and defensively, he's a wizard at times, man. At shortstop, he makes plays. It's just like, and he's got a cannon.
Oh, he does. He's got a hell of an arm.
Absolute cannon.
I'd be curious to see him in the outfield.
Yeah, right. I'd be curious who throws harder, him or Manny Machado. Because remember Machado, man, over there at third base, it looked effortless.
Yeah,
it was completely effortless, but he had a fucking rope. But Jorge Mateo's got that kind of arm.
But that's why Jorge needs to be up the middle. He needs to be able to turn. Remember the Jonathan
range.
Scope, JJ Hardy combination. It was that quick bam, quick bam.
Yep.
That's why he needs to be up the middle because of that arm.
Rougned Odor, he can eat a dick. See you later.
Yeah.
Adios.
Yeah,
guy that he stands out to me in a negative way.
Yeah, 100%.
See you later.
100%. So you mentioned before we kind of got started on the runners and scoring position, we were talking about the rotation, the bullpen. Obviously, it sounds like there's some excitement there for you. Where are you looking when you're looking at the bullpen and the starting rotation?
Man, pitching as a whole has been good. There's just so many guys that stand out for me. I mean, right now, the home starters ERA is hovering around 250 on the season. I think the wall's working.
Yeah, but it's also hurt you.
I know. I understand. It's early. Once it starts warming up and those balls start flying a little bit more.
They're also throwing two different kind of baseballs out there.
I know. They got the softball. I get it. But
the ball of socks, as people are calling
250? I don't think anybody projected that. I don't care if you're rolling.
We were expecting like 4 or 5.
I don't care if you're rolling fucking Jim Palmer, Mike Messina, and all these guys out there. A 250 ERA collectively at home, that's huge.
Yeah.
Right? That's huge. And it's been some guys that I just didn't expect it. You got Bruce Zimmerman, who, to Drew's credit, I know he's kind of compared him to John Means and how John Means has kind of developed on the scene, right? And came into his own. Major improvement over last year, right?
Yeah.
You can see that he's more confident, that, he's going up there.
He's calmer. He's more collected on the mound.
100% he is. I love Bruce Zimmerman. Tyler Wells starting to pitch really well, pitched very well yesterday, picking up his first win as a starter.
I want to see him get over some ups and downs and recover from some downs.
Here's the thing. 3 straight quality starts for Tyler Wells, right?
Yes.
We couldn't find a quality start from anybody 2 years ago.
Problem with him is he doesn't always get the run support either. So.
I agree with that. He's got a below 4 ERA at this point. No walks in 4 games. You talk about control and commanding the strike zone and pitching. Listen, make those hitters beat you. And you have a ballpark right now that's designed to allow you to pitch in the strike zone, do it, and this guy's doing it.
He is my only. Here's my only knock with him, and I know you're excited with him, right? And I am too. My only knock with him is he's one of the few guys that it seems like he's trying to dot too much. He's trying to dot the strike zone a little too much. You're not.
No walks says he's dotting it though. Because if he's dotting it, typically that means he's going to miss out of the strike zone. He's going to walk.
He's taking a lot of things to 2 and 2 and 3s. Who counts?
Okay. So you'd like to see him get through his
I'd like to see him use his pitch repertoire to fool guys, not trying to dot it and take his pitch count up, because those quality starts, if he could stop trying to dot the ball and just use the pitch, use the change of speed that he's got, and use the pitch selection that he's got to be just a little bit better.
Right.
We could be talking about a guy, and that's where my excitement about him comes in. If we can get him to make those adjustments, we're talking about a guy that could be going into the 7th inning.
I'll be honest with you, Tyler Wells, I had no expectations of ever potentially being in the rotation long term. I always saw him as a potential like middle relief or long arm in the bullpen. That's where I saw Tyler Wells. Right now, even when all these top-level prospects come up, he could be a back-of-the-rotation kind of guy, a 4th or 5th type starter, if he can continue to progress the way he's progressing right now. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think he stood out to me, because I really didn't have high expectations for him in the rotation.
Fair enough.
Jordan Lyles, the seasoned vet, right? He came in.
Didn't look good at first.
He didn't, but what was the big thing about bringing him in? Being an innings eater. And right now, he leads the team in innings pitched, which is exactly what we expected him. Right now, he's
another guy that's not getting run support all the time.
Right. And he's been hovering around a low 3, high 3, low 4 ERA right now. So right where you'd hope that he would be. So again, from a rotation
standpoint, took it into the 7th the other day.
They got Kyle Bradish. Kyle Bradish is the first piece of that potential long-term rotation who's up here, and he's working through things. I know he hasn't looked sexy yet like he has in the minor leagues, but what I appreciate is that he's here and that he's working through it here at this level, and he hasn't embarrassed himself. He hasn't looked bad.
No, he's a guy that he's a 3 guy, right? When you look at if you look at what's in the minors and what's here now, and you say, okay, taking all the extra pieces out and the guys that were in the minors last year, Bradish was a number 3. DL Hall was a number 2. Grayson Rodriguez, bring him up in anticipation that he's eventually going to be a number 1, especially with John Means gone. Right. There's these different pieces that you got to look at. And to your point, Bradish coming up, I was there for his start. It didn't look bad. Did he get the win? No. Did they take him deep? No. He was on a pitch count. First time to majors. Guy got roughed up a little bit in the 3rd, but bounced back well. You can't ask for anything more from a bounce back. He's not a blow-away starter. He's not a great...
I'll be honest with you, though, too, in that first start and just being, defensive a little bit with him, too, is he was getting hosed on some calls.
But again,
hosed on pitches.
But again, another guy that was trying to dot the corners. You're not getting those calls when you're a young, up-and-coming guy.
Two starts.
I get it. Right.
I just love that he's here and he's working through that.
You bring up... He wasn't going to have the splash that a Grayson Rodriguez will. Grayson Rodriguez comes up and has that kind of start. I'm like, ooh.
Carlozo says he's mowing him down right now. I love it. Good, man. Keep us posted. Let us know. But yeah, listen, just again, this pitching staff as a whole, who I thought would be the bigger issue, especially to start this year off, than the hitting, has more than surprised me so far and has kept them in a lot of games. The Orioles aren't getting blown out in games. Yes, I understand they're in 4th place in the AL East, which to me is still a win. They're above the Red Sox in the AL East. But they're not getting blown out.
No.
Go ahead, James.
And as much as we all were worried about it, I'm loving that wall, dude.
Yeah.
That wall, you're seeing the long ball, actually home runs that are what we want to see, but then you're also seeing a lot of doubles.
Right.
You're seeing a lot of throws out at second, people trying to, see if they can get to second. So that wall is going to have a lot of excitements, and hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, it'll have a lot of excitements in playoffs.
The only thing,
the
only thing I would say about that is when you go and you look at what's happened in the big moments that would have been home runs, a lot of them were actually Orioles hitting.
Right.
So I get it. Yes, it seems to have helped on paper, but it's also been a hindrance. It's also hurt you. You've had two times now that Trey Mancini would have had a home run, 3 times that Ryan Mountcastle would have had additional home runs.
All right, well, start eating your Wheaties and drinking your milk.
Again, it's early.
It's early, but once it gets warmer.
That's what I'm saying. Late this month, early June is when things really start to warm up, and that's when balls start flying out of that stadium.
I'm not debating it. Again, and just initial. Here's what I'm seeing in front of me, right? It is being there. But again, the only thing I don't like, and I know that Joe has talked to you about it too, not necessarily fans of the fan perspective, just mainly because of what we were used to.
Yeah.
You're used to seeing things from a certain level, the interaction, being able to see stuff in the bullpen, see around the corners. It's different. It is taking some getting
Nobody
used to for
likes
us.
change either.
No, 100%. It's going to take some getting used to. There's nothing. Look, we can't sit there and say, "Give me my seats back." They're not going to plot me a lawn chair out in left field. I wish they would.
They should have sent you the seats in the mail, though.
Yeah, that's what we said. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's taking some getting used to. So I'm torn on both. I do want to get to the multi-million-dollar question, but I know that there were 2 guys. We talked obviously about Jorge Lopez, what he's done, and look good. But there's another guy that the 2 of you, and you were even getting excited on him, give you old-timey feels.
Yeah, man.
90s Orioles bullpen feels.
That's the 40-year-old in us coming out, James.
I'm not far behind you. I was there, just so you know.
Felix Bautista, he's the real deal, man. And you're right. He's giving me that Armando Benitez, that Jorge Julio
You gonna
vibes,
fuck somebody
man.
up?
We talked about it, prior to him making his debut. Drew and I had said something very similar to Armando Benitez, and he is living up to the bill, man. He's got the intimidating frame. He's a big dude. I mean, he hits 100 to 102 effortlessly. Obviously the command is still a work in progress, but I mean, the movement that he has on his pitches beyond just being able to throw 100 to 102, this guy has all the makings to be a dominant closer in the future.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that when you watched him hit 100 the other day.
I saw it 102.
I'm saying the first time he hit 100.
Okay.
It was, you watched the batter, and I forget who it was. He just kind of looked back like, shit, that was something different.
You know why? Because he's got that Randy Johnson effect. Randy Johnson could throw 100 mile an hour, but he was 9 feet tall. So by the time he let go of the ball, he was 8 inches away from the batter.
Who is it?
Felix Bautista's like that.
The guy that was with the Reds for a while, Garrett, right?
Yeah.
They could also hit on her. He's bigger than Garrett was.
Yeah.
Garrett's a big dude.
Right.
This guy is 6'8", I want to say.
Right.
He's a big fucking dude, and he's solid muscle when you look at him. He ain't no skinny, lanky guy.
Yeah.
He is solid muscle.
I'm excited about this kid, and the fact that he just kind of popped up out of nowhere a couple years ago. He's in the Dominican League for a while.
He started with the Marlins in the Dominican League.
I didn't even know who he was until he hit Delmarva. When he hit Delmarva, I said, "Who the fuck is this big dude?"
2019 is when he hit Delmarva.
And shout out to The Verge. The guys. If you're an Oriole fan and you're not following The Verge on Twitter,
what are you doing with your life?
What are you doing with your life? These guys, they follow all the levels of minor league baseball with Orioles, and they, up to the minute updates on everything. They're killing it. They kind of put me on to Felix Bautista when he first came up with Delmarva, and I said, "Who is this kid? And when can he be in Baltimore?" And it did, and honestly, it didn't take long. It took 2 years from Delmarva to us, and now we're seeing what this guy's potential is.
It's great to see this guy. I think it's something that we're going to all be excited for, and especially just seeing the solidification of the back end of that rotation. Again, what Jorge Lopez has done and the numbers that he's putting up look amazing.
Right, absolutely. Jorge Julio was a guy that I thought for sure could end up because
Jorge Lopez.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Jorge Julio.
See, I told you, I'm stuck in the 90s. I'm stuck in the 90s. Jorge Lopez.
I think he was late 2000, early 2000s.
He might have been, whatever. He's a guy that I told you he had those short bursts, right? For that first, time or two through the order, he was dominant as a starting pitcher. Once he got to that third time through the order, that's when everybody caught up to him. But when he was used in relief, you saw him take his velocity to the next level, and his pitches got nastier because he didn't have to worry about stamina. He didn't have to worry about long term. He could give it all he got. So I thought, man, this guy's got pretty good command.
Hump it in there, yeah.
He's humping it in there. He's got good movement. He's got a good repertoire of pitches.
Yeah.
I think he would fit well as a closer, and he's done very well. 4 or 5 saves so far, and a below 2 ERA.
Well, we're talking about some of these guys coming up. Well, I got the $1 million question. We've been talking about the O's prospects, what seems to be forever now. Okay? At this point, it's not a matter of time, but rather when these prospects make their debut.
Yep.
So the O's are on a 6-game road trip right now, taking on the Cards and the Tigers. You've got Adley and DL, both in Norfolk.
Flew through their, I guess, rehab assignment or whatever you want to call it. They went all through. They went Aberdeen, Bowie,
They
Norfolk.
were in Aberdeen for
a cup of coffee.
For a few days. No, they were in Aberdeen for a few days. They were in Bowie for 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
That's what it was. I think they were in Bowie for literally like 3 days.
Okay.
Like it wasn't anything. But now you've got them going there. So this is being selfish. Very selfish. Because I won't be here next week.
Oh.
My ass will be in Vegas and not on the Strip because I'm doing the work thing.
That sucks. I feel
They
for
come
you.
back home and they take on the Yankees and then the Rays. I don't want them to, but I have a feeling Adley Rutschman is making his debut.
There's that chubby
on Monday.
again. There it is. 3rd time this show I've had a chubby. No, I really do. I think it's Adley time. I think in the next week he will be here. More
And
than
DL
likely.
ain't far behind him.
Yeah, they'll if the Ravens or the Orioles are smart with their marketing, right? They'll make this announcement a couple days before it actually happens. Get asses in the seat. It'll be for that Yankees series. They'll fill the house.
The only thing I'm holding out hope for is that they actually like wait and they say, well, it's the Yankees on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the Rays on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, actually, no. It's a 4-game series against the Yankees. Monday through Thursday against the Yankees. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the Rays, and then they go back on the road. So I'm kind of, again, selfishly holding out hope that they go, let's wait for the next series, which I forget who it is.
Do you have tickets available for that game that I can somehow get?
Maybe. We'll talk after the show. We'll see.
No, I do. I think he's coming. It's a matter of time, and it's a good time because, Adley's obviously going to be the future of this team behind the plate, and he needs to work with the current day pitchers that are going to be a part of this team moving forward. You've got Kyle Bradish up here already. You got Tyler Wells up here already. You got
he needs
pieces.
to be able to learn how to handle Felix Bautista.
Exactly, and they need to get used to him. And let's be honest, the catching has been pretty bad from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, I really like
Chirinos was an
Chirinos.
upgrade, yeah.
Definitely an upgrade defensively, big upgrade defensively. But offensively, it's been a severe downgrade. Adley can call a game.
He's a plus in both categories.
There's nothing that you're going to have to worry about him with a ramp-up period or a coaching period. He is going to be able to come in and get comfortable with this staff right away, and I think it needs to happen.
By the way, the next series after, so they go, it's New York, then Tampa at home, then it's New York on the road, Boston on the road, and then Seattle, Cleveland, and the Cubs at home. That's the series I'd like to see them bringing back.
Nah, I think it happens in this first Yankee series. Good.
So.
But Chirino, that's a catcher, right?
Chirinos, yeah.
Yep.
Does he look like a Nelson Cruz when you see him?
He does a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got the beard without the mustache thing. Yeah.
He's trying to get the Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, he doesn't hit like Nelson Cruz. That's for damn sure.
No.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think. I'm excited and I'm antsy because I don't think it's all going to happen at once. But I really don't think it's going to be long behind Adley that we see some of these other names. I don't think it'll be long before Grayson's here. I don't think it'll be long before DL's here. I think that they're going to want to get a nice sample size this season of where they're at the major league level that they can go into next offseason. Because let's remind you, there were rumors about about the Orioles going after Carlos Correa this past season, right?
They were willing to put money on the table. Had money been put on the table, this structure of this season might look a little bit different right now.
Right. So my thought process is if he only signed a 1-year deal with Minnesota, right? Essentially, it's a 1 year. I can get out because of the opt-out thing. if he opts out, the Orioles are going to want to see, all right, is Carlos Correa going to be a difference maker from taking us from a 50-win team to a potential playoff team with all these other pieces that we have in the fold? Or should we allocate our funds elsewhere? Do we still need to add to the pitching staff? Do we need to add to the back of the bullpen? Do we need to add to positions elsewhere? I know what we talked about later in the year for some of these guys. I got a weird feeling. If Adley breaks next week, I really think some of these other pieces come up much earlier than we anticipated.
I don't disagree with you, which is why I made the statement. If Adley comes up, really when Adley comes up, I'm not going to say if. When Adley comes up, I think think this through, right? What did we just say? What did I just bring up? Bradish is the guy that probably he was your number 3. Right, he's never going to be. He's.
You mean as far as the minors pecking order?
Yeah,
like if you've got Grayson 1 and you got DL 2, you got Bradish 3. Okay,
so you bring him up now. Get used to it. It's get him to development now at the major league level. Then you bring up DL. Of the 3,
Joe says I got a ticket for you Monday, Fred. If you answer your text. Jesus, Carloza, you are in your feelings. I will answer you. I had no idea you texted me. Sorry, buddy.
But no, so
I love you, Joe.
If you bring them up with the guy that needs the most work at the major league level, Bradish.
Okay.
Then the next guy that needs the most work at the major league level, it's DL. Mm-hmm. The guy that we've said since he was in Bowie,
Ballman.
Grayson Rodriguez.
Oh, Grayson. Oh, yeah.
Grayson Rodriguez is ready. Now, Ballman, they brought him up.
Yeah.
It's work.
That's what I'm saying. So to that point, Grayson, DL, Bradish. Brenovich is hurt right now, but he is still a piece that's going to be heard of.
You have Zimmerman,
Ballman, who still could be a part of it.
Ballman, I think, becomes a long reliever.
Tyler Wells, who's pitching very well right now, right? You've got 7 or 8 guys. Let's just say John Means going to come back at some point. You got 8 guys that could potentially fill in this roster as a potential starting staff. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited about this future, man.
Not to mention the fact that you have those guys.
It's here.
If you have an abundance of those guys, and if they're proven, if you bring them up to the major league level, people are going to be salivating.
Yeah. And Adley's,
I'm salivating right now.
But my point behind that, it increases your trade value opportunity.
Right.
That if you are one piece away, okay, we'll give you
what's up, Steven?
We'll give you one of these starters, and this guy down in Aberdeen right now. Right? Not Kobe Mayo. We'll give you that, and we'll go from there.
That's my guy.
I know, right? But no, yeah, 100%. This rotation, it could look completely different. And not to mention, who knows what we add through the draft. The draft is in July.
Draft is coming up, man.
It's in July.
It's not that long away.
We'll kind of, I know that we kind of had some stuff in here. We'll hold off on those, and we'll talk about those a little bit more next week and really dive into what's the next set of guys that we can see Elias go after.
The Orioles have the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming draft, and there are some really intriguing names with some really intriguing bloodlines that are being tagged to the Orioles right now, potentially at number 1. We're going to talk about it next week, so stay tuned for that because I'm excited for those names. Yeah. And I don't think it'll be long before they're here, too.
And a quick injury update. You mentioned the fact of some of the injuries we've seen. Yeah. Right-handed pitcher Chris Ellis, he's done for the season with right shoulder surgery. Alex Wells is left UCL strain. He might come back in July, August. And then the other guy that is going to, I think, wind up being a staple in the bullpen is Dean Kramer. Could come back at the end of May. And then we also have Taryn Vavra and Kyle Brenovich down in Norfolk that are on some injury situations. And Vavra is actually the concerning one for me because he's down with a hamstring strain.
Yeah,
and
you never know
return date on the hamstring.
Hamstrings could be temporary or they could be long term. You just never know.
Yeah.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, fellas, it's time for the 2-minute warning. You could tell I had been gone for a minute. I hadn't been here in a week. We're over a 2-hour show at this point. It's only 3 of us in here.
Yeah. We had to let you go. Get everything out. Get it all out of your system
There's
now.
so much to talk about, man. There's so much to catch up on.
I won't be here next week, so you and Drew are going to have to take the segment, and then
All right.
I'll have to give my take later on. We'll
At
see.
some point, Ryan will be back and we'll talk Terps again. But, you know, whatever. It'll happen eventually.
We'll see it. We'll see it.
Right. All right, it's time for the 2-minute warning, fellas. I guess, James, you're going to read them off to us.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to read yet, so, Scott, I'm going to let you go.
All right.
All right. We all saw the Mad Bum / Dan Bellino debacle this week.
Yeah.
With the Diamondbacks who took on the Marlins. What are your thoughts with Mad Bum reaction to Bellino apologizing and just MLB reaction to all of this?
I mean, the strike zone was pretty bad in the first inning. It was bad, so I can't get like Mad Bum is a seasoned veteran. I talked about dotting pitches. He's a guy. He should be able to dot pitches. It should be called. If it's touching the line, it should be called, right? Dan Bellino apologizing. A umpire admitted that he was wrong. We actually saw that twice this week. There was another one in LA where he admitted he was wrong. And the MLB's reaction. What fucking reaction?
Yeah. Bellino, the whole stare down, the awkwardness of it, like, so I understood, like, what was going on in his head. In his head, he's sitting there like, look at me, motherfucker. Don't do it, right? It was one of those, like, I don't need to say anything for you to understand what I'm thinking right now type moments. So I get what he was doing there, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it was very awkward. You don't see umpires doing anything like that, and I'm sure he makes a hell of a husband. Moving on.
All right. Whenever the bastard retires, Tom Brady is already signed to Fox Sports for lead color guy. Thoughts on it?
I can't get mad at it. He is genius in this because he's already signed a deal and he's not even done. It's better than what Romo did, and I'm intrigued. I want to see and hear how he seems to be a very well-spoken guy when he's in front of a camera a lot of times, especially talking about the game. I'm curious, can he color commentate well?
The only thing that's surprising about this was that I really thought Tom Brady would be a guy who got into ownership right out of football. Like he would be a guy that's more on the back end side more than the guy that's in front of the camera type of thing. Financially, I think it makes more sense for him, and I just thought that was where he would be. But this is a guy, when you talk about entertainment value, like
people will tune in.
There isn't a scenario that this guy hasn't been through. You talk about winning Super Bowls, losing Super Bowls. I mean, it's going to, you talk about like Peyton Manning and how entertaining he is with his show. Tom Brady is going to be super entertaining, I think.
Even Romo Nostradamus.
And he is going to be the guy for Fox because Buck and Troy are ESPN.
Yep, for sure. All right, fellas, great show. We have one more giveaway to do, though, don't we?
We do have one more giveaway.
Let me cut this outro off. What am I doing here? Right? Did we do 3?
No, we did 2. I got 2 right here.
We did 2.
All right,
we did 2.
All right, we got one more to give away. So Alex and Joe Carlozo are the 2 first winners. So we removed those from the list. Let's do our 3rd winner for our jersey. Again, you could pick any Ravens player. You could put your name on it. You could put your kid's name on it. Whatever you want to do with the jersey.
Because Joe Carlozo wasn't listening, should we let him have the win?
He was at the fair with his kids.
I'm going to let him have it. He's got a hall pass. Apparently, I'm not answering text messages and stuff.
All right. I can't have him up in his feelings anymore than he already is.
Yeah.
All right. So Joe's off the board and Alex is off the board. So we've got Brian, Ryan, Harris, Vince Figueroa, Joe Braun, David Mitzler, and Nick Short and Emma and Lily. So we're going to come over here. We're going to find out our random number generator.
I'm calling right now for Dave.
Here we go. He's calling Dave. We got 188.
Wait a minute.
I believe that might be
that's
Alex Devon. All right.
Another re-roll.
Here we go. Re-roll. Let's see what we get. Number 1. I think that's also.
No, I think that went over.
That's Joe Braun.
Joe Braun. All right. So Joe Braun's wishes were, and I talked to him right after the show. He said, hey, if I win, give it to somebody else. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to roll again. Fuck it.
All right.
Joe Braun said, hey, I was donating to keep the show going. Let's give it away to somebody else who deserves it.
368.
368. Carlozo again. Come
Jesus
on.
Christ.
We got to roll it again.
Here we go. Let's see.
28. Oh, that's a new one.
That's Brian Blair.
No, it isn't.
No, that's
Ryan Harris. All right, Ryan, you are our winner for our 3rd jersey giveaway. Again, thank you to all of you who donated and submitted and gave us support through that entire draft show. It means a lot to us. I will definitely be doing some giveaways again in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you. And truly, thank you.
And stay tuned, guys. You know, we've said that we are looking for, you know, another new sponsor as well. Ideally, just to throw it out there, we want to partner with a place that we can maybe do some live shows at.
Yeah.
We might have something in the works already. We'll see. But we're going to try to also this year maybe get a live show or two together, just because we had such great turnout last time, such great feedback. We'd love to do it again.
And it was at Pizza John's. I mean, you can't go wrong at Pizza John's.
Can't go wrong there. So we'll get everything kind of figured out and stay tuned. But again, if you guys do know anybody, you're business owners, you know business owners that in the Baltimore area that are looking to sponsor, we definitely would appreciate you putting that out there for us. But make sure you also send anybody and everybody to our website. You go to our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes. You can learn about each of us. You can get yourself some Birdland BS gear. Go check it out. I've always got the hat on, the shirt. I'm always rocking it.
Let us know, Nick, man. We would love the reference there. Appreciate it.
I got a lovely, this guy for our Christmas gifts.
Hey, David, thank you again for everything that you did with the donations and everything. It means a lot to us, brother.
And for the Christmas gifts, you know, Fred gave us a nice Under Armour polo jacket. Very, very nice.
It's a pullover, not a polo.
Yeah, pullover jacket. But no, very, very nice. So you can always get stuff like that on the website. You can also check us out on Big Play and the Big Play app. Also, make sure that you go to all of our social media pages. If you're watching this show right now live on the stream, I'm pretty sure you found us on one of our social media pages.
But find us on all of them, man. Hey,
exactly.
Listen, one thing that you can do that doesn't cost you anything is leave us a review on anything that you watch. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. If there is a way, if you're on Apple Podcasts or anything like that you can leave a review, all that does is go a long way in trying to find us and giving us more exposure. We appreciate each and every one of them.
We appreciate when you guys do that and when you become a part of Birdland BS Nation doing that. So again, appreciate all the love that you guys are always providing, all the love through the draft. I'm sure there will be more raffles and things to come, so stay tuned.
It went so well, we're going to do more.
We're going to do more. And again, as always, check out that bio.link /BirdlandBS to get access to everything all in one spot, including those donation spots that we've mentioned in previous shows. So appreciate you guys. For James and Ryan, who couldn't be there, or sorry, for Drew and Ryan, who couldn't be here this week, James is over in the producer chair. Fred and I cannot clearly speak tonight at times. It has been a long show. We'll see you guys in the after hours.
See ya. It's time for the after party.
Last call for alcohol.
Woo! That was a good show. I had a lot to talk about. My throat's dry. Like, I talked that much, my throat is dry. Sorry. I apologize.
So let me clear my throat.
Let it lie. Don't. Nope. There's certain things you just let go, Scott. That's one of them.
Dry throats and chubbies tonight, apparently.
That's one thing you just let go.
Oh, man. Yes,
Alex, you are a winner, man. If you haven't yet, like I said, for all three of you winners out there, Alex, Ryan Harris, and Joe Carlozo, send us a message or send me a text message if you'd like, Joe. At some point, I will respond with your size, what name you want on the back. Like I said, if you want a player, if you want your name.
Or if Joe wants CPA on the back of his.
If you want CPA, whatever you want, whatever you feels good.
He's getting, because he's being a jerk about all this, he's getting a kid size. He's not getting one for himself.
Hey, I'm all right with that. Kids. Hey, he's got a couple kids. If he wants to give one to his kid, you can do that too. Just let us know what your size is and what name and number you want.
Way to turn me being into a jerk into him and something nice for his kids. Thanks. Oh man, well it was a great show. You had a lot to catch up on with everything, and I think we really broke down the draft. The
draft just went so much better than I really would have anticipated. You know, every year there's probably like that one or two guys that you like hoped
you're really questioning your head,
or you took a couple of times. No. I'm saying you had one or two guys that you either hoped would go to the Ravens or that you did a bunch of mocks that were on the Ravens. There were at least 5 names that were drafted that I had mocked at some point going to the Ravens. So many familiar names to go off, and I'm talking first round through fourth round. We're not talking 6th, 7th, 8th round, 6th, 7th round guys. We're talking top of the draft guys.
Yeah.
That all ended up landing and falling in our lap when they weren't expected to, because all the average draft position had them much higher than where they actually went. I really think this is one of Eric DeCosta's best drafts yet. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding. You got to get on the field and you got to prove yourself. And I know we all get excited about draft classes every year, and we're fans first, right? But putting the fandom aside, I really like this class a lot.
Yeah, no, for the Ravens, I definitely think it looked overall, it looked really, really good. Another thing that
4-3 defense this year? No, I think they could. I think that could be one of the changes that McDonald makes with this defense. I think, especially with the personnel, once they get a Jabo and they're fully healthy on that defensive line, 4-3 defense, I think, makes sense.
Yeah. Sean Carter says, real question, are the rumors true that those are really looking at bringing in Robinson Cano at second base? I was wondering, have you guys heard about this? So, look, here's what I'm going to tell you about all that. I haven't heard anything official.
I heard it yesterday.
From who? From where?
It was rumors. I'm saying I didn't hear anything official. Okay. I'm saying that there was rumors, and it was the same guy who is verified on Twitter and all that stuff, who reported the Carlos Correa potential interest and potential contract offer, who also reported this about
I was going to say, for me, it was, until you just said that, if it's the same guy, then I trust 100%. That. I trust that situation. But for me, prior to that, it seemed like it was more fan speculation. Is that Baltimore fan speculation coming out of like a...
I think honestly,
is he an upgrade over Rugad? Yeah, I mean, probably, but I don't know how much of an upgrade because he's at the latter part of his career.
I think he offensively would be an upgrade. Defensively, it's about the same because I think he's a better fielder, but he doesn't have the range that Odor would have because Cano is a bigger guy at this point in his career. He's put on a little bit extra weight. He's not as nimble and as quick as he once was. I think regardless of whether they finish the year with Odor or Cano, I'm not excited about either one of them, and none of them are going to be anything more than to finish the rest of this year.
Pick up his contract, most of his contract, right?
It wouldn't cost us much. I think Cano at this point, if he's still wanting to play, is just looking for somewhere where he can play and be able to play right away.
Or Cano is one game away from another PED suspension for life. So
And Alex talks about how about Buck and the Mets, man. Buckle up. I tweeted that out on Twitter the other day. Is a lot of fans are just riding this wave of happiness and how good the Mets are. This is what fucking Buck does.
We said it last week in the 2-minute warning, and I know you didn't watch the show. You took the week completely off. But we talk about it, and I said it's the New York bucking Mets.
Yeah.
That's what they are right now because they are kicking ass and taking names right now. Yep. They are the better of the two across the river, right? Yep. This is something that we haven't seen out of the Mets in years.
They're putting it together. They're all playing together as a team. They're playing smart baseball, and he's back in the National League where he can play some small ball and stuff.
Did you hear the thing that there was the interview about Francisco Lindor saying that Buck has changed how he looks at the game?
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that.
Like everybody on that team is, again, this is what Buck does. And it's no offense to Buck. No offense to Buck at all. I hope for his sake, he wins a championship with the Mets. The problem is he's got a history.
He doesn't win championships.
He doesn't.
He get him to a certain point.
Right, exactly.
But see, I think
this team is a little different than anything that he's had in the past.
It is,
coming
but
into.
It was more ready now than it was with other teams that he's had in the past. But I really think the Mets bought into changing the mindset and changing the culture. And if that only meant 3 years out of Buck, or if that only meant 5 years out of Buck, I think the Mets were okay with that organization. They were such a mess, and they had so much money invested into this team. They needed somebody who could come in and change the culture quick. And there wasn't anybody more qualified than Buck Showalter.
And that's the thing with Buck too, right? Buck is kind of that natural mesh. He's very analytic. Mm-hmm. He also likes small ball, which usually...
I wouldn't say he's very analytic. Actually, he was kind of against analytics in a lot of ways. He was more open to it later in the career.
I was going to say, if you go look at his MLB, when he was on MLB Network and he was doing all that stuff, he was actually the one going, yeah, I didn't like it originally, but you know what? It's part of the game now. You got to understand it. And if I can use something to my advantage, I'd be dumb not to use it.
Right.
And so you're seeing that. He's using the analytics. He's still not afraid to play small ball. He's a player's coach, right? He's a guy that the players love to be around. He jokes with them. He has fun with them. He lets them have fun and be loose, because if you're loose and you're having fun, you play harder.
Yep. I 100% agree with you.
It just all works together. One thing we were talking about, this draft and how well it went. I did go back and watch our draft show. Not to toot my own horn. I mean, it was we only did like the first, I probably made 25 predictions throughout that show.
You were on a burner there for a while.
I hit on I didn't realize how many I hit on.
Yeah, you did pretty well with that.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I didn't dive into it as much as I normally do with my predictions and stuff. You were kind of going off on that. But yeah, you did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Ryan says, get your ass to the strip, Scott. Don't waste that plane ticket when you're going to Vegas. So you gotta at least get down there. Take a couple $100 with you.
I couldn't leave. So we're 45 minutes off the strip. First off, so when I go back, when I check out of my hotel,
how long are you there?
I'm there. I get there Monday morning, and then we have to be at I get there at 11, and we've got to start at 1. So I got to go straight. They're picking us up. They're taking us straight over.
Okay.
We are at that location on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We leave out Friday. Everybody leaves out and checks out Friday.
You're there 4 days.
I'm there 4 days, but they have us fully booked. Every minute is fully booked while we're out there, except for while we're sleeping.
You've got time to sleep.
Yeah. But I also don't feel like driving 45 minutes to the strip and then back, because that means I'm probably only going to get 2-3 hours of sleep, and I have to function and work.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy.
This is not me sleeping in.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy.
I've been to Vegas
Ryan
before.
and I were on the craps table till 5 a.m. knowing we had a flight the next day.
Yeah, it's different when you could sleep on that flight. You had that option.
Not with sleep apnea, you can't. Trust me.
You have the option to sleep
Nobody
on the
wants
flight.
that. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to see that. Nope, I wasn't sleeping.
I have to work for 8 hours.
Not when you have apnea and anxiety, the 2 A's. Fucking,
No.
I was
I'm there,
in a whole other AA class.
Friday, the only flight that I could get was out later, so I may have them go over. And Friday afternoon, before I wait for my flight, I'll probably go to the strip for a little bit, and then
there you
go there. I got to figure it out though. I got to make sure I've got rides to and from.
Well, there are slots.
If you need somebody to teach you a little bit on craps, Ryan and I can help you out with that. You gotta spend at least $100 on a craps table, because I'm telling you, if you stick to our method,
I don't know.
You might win or lose. I don't know. We've won and we've lost. So
I was gonna say my buddy Jason, who I'm going on the cruise with, he's a big craps guy, and he's gotten me into it a little bit. But I've also turned around. I got you, Ryan, and him all into roulette with my method of betting with roulette. If you would just fucking listen to me and want to step away from the table.
Hey, listen, I did good on roulette. I did so good that James came up behind me. He was like, fucking, I'm going to put a whole bunch of money on it. And didn't do very well. But he was trying to get a steak dinner, so he got a very, very nice hand sanitizer out of it. Is that framed yet?
Nah, it's working on it, though.
All right, it's working on it.
Some pictures made.
Man.
All right, guys. Well, it's late. I'm tired. Scott's tired. Jane's tired. We will see you guys next Tuesday. We'll be in contact about the shirts for you 3 winners. Again, send us a message. Let us know name, size, jersey number.
See you guys.
We'll see you.